Straight from the underworld, a bizarre tower tears through a blood, red sky in a scene of pure horror. For thousands of years, things there have always been cruel and hopeless. But for some reason, the 72 immortal pillars could never unite their powers amidst all the carnage. Deciding to change the rules, a demonic spider announces that they'll now be using humans to serve as their champions. Lightning rips across the sky as the monsters plot to steal each other's powers. Slamming his sword on the ground, a sinister knight declares the end of the long war. And just like that, the start of the Millennium Festival is announced to all of hell. Casually strolling over a mountain of bodies, a bearded guy heads toward the light. This sight surprises a horned demon, who wasn't expecting any visitors in his turf. With a cynical smile, the bearded dude introduces himself as the Demon of Eloquence. Beyond annoyed, the horned guy tells him to get lost before he's torn to pieces and tossed on the pile. Ignoring the threat, the visitor asks if he's not going to join the festival. Straight up, the demon says he finds it ridiculous and has zero interest. As a taunt, the bearded dude says it's the perfect chance to massacre everyone, or even get taken out himself. Tossing out the final bait, he adds that it's also an opportunity to get the ring the horned guy wants so badly. Having grabbed the creature's full attention, the bearded dude reveals he's found an exceptional champion for him. Through a magic portal, they get a direct view of the human world. Meanwhile, on Earth, a crowd and a bunch of reporters are swarming the entrance of a building. The press shouts that the man of the hour has finally arrived. Stepping out confidently in his designer shoes, our prosecutor makes his entrance. Amidst the chaos, he hears questions about the arrest warrant for assault and murder against a certain big shot. At the same time, protesters chant nonstop, calling the investigation unfair and oppressive. Adjusting his glasses, our MC keeps that cold, calculating stare. Behind the cameras, rumors are flying that his aggressive methods are driving suspects to take their own lives. Without showing a single emotion, he simply declares that he will faithfully carry out his duties. This stirs up even more outrage among the people, who are split between cursing him and supporting his actions. Suddenly, everyone's phones start buzzing like crazy. The screen reveals the bombshell news that the VIP suspect just committed suicide. This leaves all the reporters in shock at the bizarre turn of events in the case. Turning his back, our MC ignores the press as they scramble to be the first to break the story. In a low voice, a colleague comments that the people just wanted to get rid of the criminal without getting their own hands dirty. With a devilish grin in the dark, our prosecutor tells the deceased to have a nice run in hell. Finding the human's wickedness fascinating, the horned demon back in the underworld is loving the idea. To make things even better, the bearded dude adds that the prosecutor forged evidence to get his target taken out, and he finds that quite charming. As he's leaving, he says he's going to go pick up the newly departed and invites his partner to come along. Flashing a terrifying smile, the demon finally accepts the invitation. A short time later, the news reports a serious car accident around 9 p.m. The report shows that the fatality was none other than our relentless prosecutor, on his own daughter's birthday. Opening his eyes, our MC is immediately faced with the chaotic landscape of the underworld. Nearby, demons are torturing souls who are begging for it all to stop. The extreme heat makes the condemned burn alive in the middle of the fire. Watching crazed figures running around without eyes, our guy understands the desperation of the place, all under the watchful gaze of bizarre creatures who oversee the eternal suffering. Analyzing the giant tower in the distance, he realizes there's no denying his new reality. Outraged, he asks himself why the heck he ended up right in the middle of hell. With his fists clenched, rage begins to take over our guy. In his mind, his whole life was based on doing the right thing. Gritting his teeth, he yells that this has to be a nightmare, since he sent hundreds to prison. Screaming, he complains that he passed away right when everything was finally over. He shields his face from the impact of a sinister explosion just ahead. In a quick reflex, he dodges several giant spikes that erupt from the ground. Groaning in pain, he tries to keep his balance amidst the smoke. Suddenly, a strange shadow forms right above him. He's almost crushed by a colossal spiked ball that plummets out of nowhere. Behind his lenses, his eyes widen when he sees who caused the destruction. He stares as the dust settles after the violent impact of the iron ball. From the middle of the smoke, a cavernous voice says it has finally found him. A giant demonic face then appears, calling our MC the Devil's Advocate. Realizing its absurd size and freaky appearance, he figures the guy has to be some kind of demon. Sniffing the air, the huge monster finds it strange that the human has no contract but gives off a strong scent of justice. Trying to reason with it, our MC says he's not the kind of scum that ends up in hell, because he judged criminals. Finding this hilarious, the monster scoffs at a mortal thinking he understands what justice is. Full of pride, he introduces himself as the Earl of Justice, Andromalius. Cooking up a plan, our prosecutor thinks he got lucky and might be able to squeeze some information out of the big guy. Furious, the demon warns that he hates those who preach justice without even knowing what evil is. Totally confused, our MC doesn't understand the sudden mood swing. Opening a mouth full of bizarre teeth, the Earl threatens to tear the false champion to pieces. From the hellish skies, a dragon flies at high speed toward the brawl, sinking its fangs right into the giant's face. A sinister wolf calls him a hypocrite. Like a meteor, someone lands in the middle of the chaos, standing on top of the beast. In a mocking tone, the wolf asks if the giant was trying to steal the human they brought over. Hopping off his mount, the horned demon analyzes our MC, who's full of contradictions. Complaining about the stress, he says he hates dealing with rude people. Facing the giant, he lays it out straight, reminding him of the agreement between them. Smiling sadistically, he warns that taking out a champion before the contract is signed breaks the festival's rules. Annoyed with the whole mess, the giant tells our guy to get back into character as a champion. At that moment, the horned demon finally greets his guest by name. Not understanding a thing, our MC asks who the figure in front of him is. The monster promptly introduces himself as Bune, the demon of eloquence who brought him to hell. With a sinister smile, the creature guesses the human has a mountain of questions about what's going on. In the background, the giant complains that he almost had to go through the trouble of fetching a corpse. Furious, the big guy summons his battle servant named Jukova. Instantly, the spike ball charges forward with the clear order to eliminate the human before the contract is signed. A flash of fire explodes in the middle of the hellish scene. From within the smoke, the face of a bizarre old woman appears, smiling. Like a meteor, the sphere full of blades continues its unstoppable attack. Full of hatred, the giant mutters that Bune is the worst participant in the festival and swears revenge. According to the big guy, that human is just a common sinner disguised with the smell of justice. Ignoring the beef, the horned demon pulls up our prosecutor's file, mentioning his age and career. To make things worse, he brings up the case of the MC's childhood friend who was brutally murdered. Twisting the knife, the creature recounts how the prosecutor forged evidence without mercy to punish abusers. Consumed by rage, the human grabs the demon's collar in an instant. He directly demands to know why his wife and daughter were also taken out in the accident. Mocking his heroic pose, the monster asks if he's suddenly become some kind of demon, slaying night. In a swift move, the horned fiend brushes the MC's hands away, as if they were nothing. Thrown backward, our guy hears that the demon of eloquence hates to be interrupted. Bluntly, the creature says he was going to bite the dust anyway, and he just seized the opportunity. Filled with hatred, our Avenger questions why he would ever fight alongside his family's killer. Faced with this rebellion, the Infernal Lord just smiles, preparing his final trump card. Surprising the human, the offer comes to revive his entire family if the contract is signed. In complete shock, the guy gets up from the ground, asking if this is for real. Applying the pressure, the demon warns that his options are to accept the deal or become monster food. Changing the subject, the big monster brings up the biblical story of King Solomon. Apparently, this king possessed a ring that granted absolute power to whoever wore it, but the artifact shattered into pieces, causing a bloody war among the 72 pillars. To settle the dispute, the impartial King Ball created the festival, wagering the remnants of the ring. Basically, the rules dictate that the champions must fight to the end for the prize. Finishing his speech, Bune guarantees that any wish can become reality with a victory. Internally, our protagonist realizes he has no way of refusing the offer. Facing his new boss, he demands to know the exact reason he was chosen. At the question, the demon lets out a little laugh full of sarcasm. Without beating around the bush, the creature explains that Solomon himself took a liking to him for a trivial reason. Completely confused, the guy just watches as the monster claps his hands excitedly. Extending a giant hand, the Infernal Lord calls him to seal the deal. In our MC's head, there has to be a bigger reason, and he swears he'll find out the truth. Firmly, the human shakes the demon's hand, sealing the bizarre pact. Immediately, a macabre smile spreads across the horned fiend's face. Engulfed in a wicked purple aura, the prosecutor accepts his new dark destiny. As the energy erupts, the demon announces that the human will gain a power based on his past life. The sound of something breaking echoes through the scene as the magic takes form. Smoke and red lights mix, creating a sinister weapon in his hands. Surprised, the demon confesses he was expecting to see a judge's gavel or a law book appear, but the horned fiend quickly praises the tool of destruction, calling the human a diabolical prosecutor. Right at that moment, the giant spiked ball attacks again with full force. Cool and calculating, our boy just adjusts his glasses without even blinking. Step by step, he walks toward the danger with a menacing posture. In his right hand, a straight, glowing sword of red energy is revealed. With the look of a psychopath, he declares that he's still a man of the law, even after he's gone. Up above, the giant scoffs at the newly signed contract between the two. Underestimating the newcomer, the big guy orders the old hag of spikes to crush his opponent. Welcoming him to the festival, Bune tells his new pawn to fight like his life depends on it. In the blink of an eye, dozens of giant stakes fall from the sky, targeting the human. Without showing any fear, the guy lifts his head to calculate the attack's trajectory. He quickly dodges to the side, letting his demise pass by a hair's breadth. Several blades violently embed themselves in the ground as he reaffirms his mission to judge the wicked. Charging forward, the bizarre old woman's face tries to devour our hero. In a perfect spin, the guy swings his blood sword with maximum force. Blades and spikes are cut as if they were made of paper. In utter shock, the monster's eye widens as it feels the impact of the blow. With this strike, the prosecutor reflects on the irony of fighting for a demon. A lot of blood gushes everywhere as the deep cut slices through the enemy. Nearly split in two, the creature roars in pain while the MC finds the whole situation to be a bad joke. But the creature's flesh begins to writhe and heal at an absurd speed. In a disgusting voice, the old woman promises she'll fix the little boy up real quick. Clicking his tongue, our Avenger realizes this fight is going to be longer than he thought. With no rest, a new rain of attacks forces the human to block with his sword. During the defense, a spike manages to get through and cuts our protagonist's cheek. Sliding back, he creates distance while wiping the blood from his face. The weight of the sphere shatters the arena floor, making the guy question God's will. With one eye glowing purple, he swears he'll defy fate, even if it means becoming a true demon to do it. In a snowy landscape, a quiet town is swallowed by an icy wind. On the street, wild dogs devour scraps of meat, staining the white ground with blood. Gripped by terror, two men comment that the animals were eating pieces of human bodies. Worse yet, the rumor is that the bizarre killer is still on the loose, leaving no trace. Suddenly, a sharp scream of pain cuts through the neighborhood's silence. The macabre old woman reveals her true face as she attacks her victim, pretending to help. Furious, our MC screams the monster's name, shattering the bizarre illusion. Without hesitation, the guy points his weapon, remembering her past as a cruel serial killer during the Soviet era. With a crazed look, the witch mutters that she needs young hearts to cure her sick granddaughter. But our hero throws it in her face that she lives alone and is just a disgusting demon making excuses for her crimes. Angered by the truth, the beast raises an axe, demanding his heart by force. In a psychotic fit, she cracks a macabre smile, talking about baking meat cookies. Without mercy, the blade comes down with full force, splattering blood everywhere. Back in the hellish reality, our prosecutor furiously parries the blow with his magic sword. The impact of the clash violently pushes them both apart in the middle of the arena. Mockingly, the witch asks if he enjoyed the little trip through her mental world, but the guy stays cool, telling her to stop with the cheap victim act. Firm in his stance, the Avenger focuses solely on the target, ready to act. Laughing uncontrollably, the old woman points a modified gun, assuring him his heart will serve her well. Bursts of energy shoot toward the human with full force. Screaming, the monster demands he give up and hand over his life once and for all. Nimbly, our boy deflects the lethal shots by spinning his own red blade. Outraged, the witch lets out a bizarre scream of anger at being held back. Wasting no time, the guy charges like a rocket toward the danger. In milliseconds, he closes the distance, getting right in the old woman's face. Right in front of the beast, he tells her that her stench of garbage is worse than any criminal he's ever faced. Cold and calculating, the prosecutor decrees the demon's death sentence right then and there. Out of nowhere, dozens of floating energy swords appear around him, ready to attack. In a lethal move, the blades pierce the creature, giving it no chance to defend itself. The result is a brutal whirlwind of cuts that tears the enemy to shreds for good. In complete shock, the old woman realizes her end has come knocking. With a final blow, the guy secures his victory, pinning the enemy to the underworld floor. Instantly, the monster's body turns to dust, vanishing from existence. Suddenly, the MC's mind pulls up a memory from his youth where a girl rejects his feelings. A bit awkwardly, the girl asks if they can just stay good friends. To save face, the young man plays it off, saying she's not even his type for dating. Silently, the girl just gives a sweet smile, understanding the kid's tough guy act. In a mysterious tone, she tells him he'll only understand how things work when he's older. A somber news report cuts into the memory, informing of that same girl's tragic passing weeks later. The report confirms her body was found in an advanced state of decomposition. During the funeral, a heavy atmosphere takes over as people whisper about our MC's absence. Far away, the young man walks through the city with his head down and an empty gaze. Marked by pain, his face shows a mix of trauma and restrained fury. With dead eyes, he focuses on a single objective of revenge. Right in front of a luxury car, the boy confronts the big shot suspected of the crime. Security guards try to block the kid, but the man in the suit just gives him a mocking smile. With fire in his eyes, the young man brings up a bizarre and old murder case in the city of Osaka. Right after, he throws the disappearance of a female student in the 90s on the table. Immediately, the goons grab our hero by the arms, preventing any attack. Enraged, the boy screams his dead friend's name, demanding answers from the rich man. Full of irony, the villain raises a hand, telling the security guards to back off. Cynically, the big shot confesses he knew all the victims, but laughs at the police's lack of evidence. Driven mad by hatred, our boy accuses the powerful man of being the murderer of all those women. With a choked voice, he demands to know why the heck his friend had to become part of that sick statistic. Blinded by rage, the young man promises to unmask that human garbage, no matter the cost. With a demonic smile, the executive says that finding evidence is a prosecutor's job and is alone. To psychologically destroy the boy, the villain repeats the exact same phrase the girl said before she passed. Upon hearing those words, our hero's world simply collapses completely. Consumed by fury, he wants to know how the scumbag knew about a private conversation. In that instant, the certainty that the big shot is the real monster takes over his mind. Dragged away by the guards, the boy swears to hunt down the villain, regardless of the methods. Screaming, his promise to make the man pay for his crimes echoes through the busy streets. Suddenly, the loud voice of the horned lord brings the boy back to hell. Amused by the scene, the big monster comments that the newbie got stuck in the dead witch's illusions. Curious, the demon asks what rotten secrets the human saw to make such a hateful face. With his hands on his head, the prosecutor realizes the nightmare was actually his own past. Confronting him head on, he accuses his boss of digging up memories that should have stayed buried forever. Cold as ice, our Avenger warns that he'll personally take out the demon after all this is over. Amused by the audacity, the horned fiend laughs at the petulance of a mortal trying to intimidate him. Out of nowhere, beams of dark energy sprout from the ground, pinning the boy's body in place. Almost face to face with him, the Lord admits that King Solomon had an excellent nose for finding prodigies. With his hand on the human's chin, the monster confesses he absolutely adores this rotten personality of his. In an abrupt move, the demon throws the MC to the ground, decreeing that humans have no power against him. With a sadistic look, the creature explains that five-fingered mortals can never overcome the infernal hierarchy. As a checkmate, he states that immortals can't be taken out by champions, and tells the boy to complain to God if he doesn't like it. With his hand on the ground, the prosecutor hears that there's an absolute rule imposed by the one in charge around here. Freed from the binds, the demon announces that the newbie's first fight is over, completely safe and sound. At that, the Lord reveals a green glow, stating that those are the sacred spoils of victory. Clearly, the floating energy in his palm is the freshly stolen soul of the giant Andromalius. Without much ceremony, the horned fiend tosses the reward to the boy as if it were trash. Instantly, the big monster lets out a laugh, praising the soul and understanding the general lust for power. Basically, the law of the land says that taking out an opponent grants immediate access to their abilities. In mid-air, our MC grabs the energy and figures out that even a corpse becomes a weapon in his master's hands. Out of nowhere, a macabre vision of old women dancing in the fire invades the human's mind without warning. The bizarre illusion quickly vanishes, leaving the boy with a look of disgust and repulsion. Annoyed by the terrible taste, the prosecutor questions what useless power the fallen giant even had. In response, the demon tells the human to test the thing out himself and find out the hard way. Immediately, the magic glows, revealing the absurd ability to pinpoint the exact direction of any desired treasure. With a calculating look, our hero is already processing how to use this exclusive advantage for his plan. Concerned by the silence, the demon asks if the mortal is going to ask some cliche newbie question. Wasting no time, the boy asks where the heck the Infernal Lord's own most precious item is hidden. Eyeing the green flame, he stares at his partner, hoping the horned fiend understands the malicious strategy. With a demonic smile, the boss shows his teeth, proving he loved the genius of his lackey. With a snap of his fingers, the prosecutor activates the magic compass, firing a beam of light straight into the bloody sky. Like a lighthouse beam, the ray crosses the infinite landscape, pointing exactly to the top of a gigantic tower. Ironically, the system informs him that the golden prize rests at the bottom of the stomach of the impartial king named Baal. Determined to move forward, our protagonist takes the first step toward the impenetrable fortress. Without his glasses, he abandons any trace of the peaceful prosecutor who once walked the earth. Right after adjusting the frames, the posture of a relentless avenger takes over his cold gaze. Satisfied with the boy's lethal attitude, the demon tells them to leave without looking back. Apparently, the doe's sole focus now is to march to the most well-guarded vault in the underworld. From the corner of his eye, the Lord confirms that the journey won't be an easy walk in the park. To the demon's surprise, the human announces halfway there that the legendary ring isn't his real goal. Getting the big guy's attention, he drops the bombshell that the true treasure is something completely different. Through pure logic, the boy deduces that the impartial king is hiding a massive piece of the artifact to attract the ants. Without mincing words, the prosecutor warns that his weak lord doesn't stand a chance against an absolute king. Since they'll have to fight other champions anyway, it's better to avoid taking on the big boss right away. Annoyed by the lack of respect, the horned fiend threatens the mortal's life if he continues to doubt his strength. Without backing down an inch, the boy demands a good reason for them to change the main mission's route. Giving in to the human's argument, the demon finally decides to spill the beans and tell the true ancient story. Cynically, the monster confesses he hid the full story on purpose, just to complicate things for his contractor. In a more serious tone, the Lord goes on a long spiel, telling the kid to pay close attention to the tale of Solomon. In his explanation, he mentions the chaotic times when the angels from the heavens waged a colossal war against the monsters of the abyss. It all revolved around absolute control over the human world and the very fabric of reality. Apparently, the Supreme King banished the 72 pillars back to their infernal prison, laying down the law. With this firm decision, the war cooled down, but the demon of eloquence never bowed down to the system. Focused on corrupting everything, the demon whispered in the king's ear until he convinced him to throw the ring into the depths. In those dark times, Boone was absolutely certain he would retrieve the artifact and become the ruler of hell. But the king proved his infinite madness, being the same psycho who suggested cutting a baby in half just for fun. Shattering all expectations, the so-called wise king smashed the jewel into dozens of pieces and dropped the dust in the demon's laps. To make matters worse, a warrior named Baal found the thickest and strongest base of the artifact. Because of this stroke of luck, the tyrant subjugated 40 lords in the blink of an eye and took the crown of the underworld. Spitefully, the silver-tongued demon makes up the excuse that his rival only defeated weak and talentless opponents. At the height of this beef, the ghost of Solomon popped up with the brilliant idea of creating a killing festival. Aware of the absurd danger, the Lord recommends the duo detour to crush Paimon, the second strongest goddess. An uncountable horde of strange monsters led by this sinister entity takes over the MC's thoughts. Atop a bizarre camel, the mysterious sovereign boasts the title of Commander of the West with her infinite armies. Besides leading a band of followers, the arrogant queen holds a deadly grudge against Baal's reign. Completely down to earth, the human retorts that taking on this crazy goddess now is guaranteed suicide with no room for error. But the horned boss swears on his own neck that he has a perfect plan hidden up his sleeve. Against all imposed orders, our protagonist puts his foot down and decrees that they will march straight to the Supreme King's throne. Through sharp logic, the kid concludes that Boone himself caused this whole mess, letting the crown fall into the enemy's lap. Exposed to his face, the demon of eloquence's jaw locks with pure shock and shame at his own blunders. Consumed by a savage fury, the beast grabs the human's neck and lifts him into the air without mercy. Screaming with hatred, the Lord warns that he can crush the mortal's skull like a grape. Almost out of air, the boy doesn't let his guard down and flashes a devilish smile as the contract's seal flashes on his hand. With a mocking tone, he reminds the big monster that he's not a mere pawn, but his sacred champion. Immediately, the horn fiend lets out a roar of pain, tearing his throat as he realizes the trap of the vital link between them. Falling to his knees, the prosecutor supports himself in the dust, proving that any injury to him will be returned twofold to his master. With an expression of pure sadism, the boy decrees that from this day forward, the human is the one holding the reins. Seized by a disturbing surprise, the demon cracks a macabre smile, revealing dozens of sharp fangs. But another wave of purple energy punishes the creature's skull, forcing him to accept the leash without complaint. Defeated by his own magical rules, the Lord raises his arms and concedes leadership of the mission to the insolent mortal. With his red eye glowing, the demon drops the bombshell that the human will bear the weight of every consequence of that choice. With his back to his boss, the kid retorts that if the ship sinks, he's dragging the entire creature down to the bottom of the sea with him. During the tense walk through the Crimson Desert, the boy keeps his senses sharp, suspicious of the sudden silence. In absolute silence, he analyzes his partner's steps, trying to guess the next backstab. Step by step, the duo pierces the scorching hell, smoke without exchanging another drop of irony. Suddenly, the rocky ground explodes in a volcano of stones, forcing the prosecutor to do a backflip to escape his demise. From the crater, dozens of swords and severed arms spew toward our hero, who smiles, amused by the ambush. Surrounded by a horde of winged demons, our hero realizes the scale of the problem. Surprised by the ambush, the boy questions what the heck is going on. Without losing his composure, the Horned Lord says this is just a little gift from the Supreme King for those who dare to challenge him. Mockingly, the big monster asks if the kid thought the war would be over easily just by controlling the boss. Suddenly, a giant demonic wolf tries to bite the prosecutor's head off. Growling, the beast warns that this isn't a game and that passing on here is final. In a quick reflex, the boy dodges the lunge and retorts that he forgot that detail, since he's already gone. Furious, the creature guarantees they're going to the tower but demands the human fight as if his soul depends on it. Charging forward, the Hellhound swears the mortal will understand why he was warned to back off. Adjusting his glasses with a psycho smile, our MC loves the intimidation even before the fight begins. In a burst of speed, he charges forward, cutting through the wind toward the enemies. Firm in his charge, his hand grabs the neck of one of the flying monsters. With brute force, the Avenger smashes the creature's face right into the stone ground. Without letting up, the red sword tears through the chest of another demon trying to attack from behind. In the midst of the chaos, the lethal blade dispatches one monster after another without the slightest mercy. With a direct punch, the boy caves in the chest of another unsuspecting foe. Dark magic bowls in the human's arm as he shatters the air around him. Defeated, the creature's body dissolves into disgusting pieces of flesh. Eyes glowing with adrenaline, our hero spins his sword like a human meat grinder. A colossal slash of crimson energy wipes out dozens of enemies in a single blow. Standing amidst the corpses, the prosecutor finds the ease of victory almost disappointing. Full of rage, the wolf curses the kid for letting his guard down too early on the battlefield. Immediately, a giant brute appears from behind, raising a colossal war axe. Heavy as an anvil, the deadly blade descends, tearing through the air itself. Cool and calculating, our MC blocks the absurd impact without his legs even shaking. Despite the pressure of the blow, the Avenger just clicks his tongue and cracks a small, mocking smile. In a brutal reversal, the boy's hand grabs the horned giant's face without ceremony. With relish, he bursts the monster's head like a ripe watermelon, sending blood flying. Seeing the macabre scene, the demonic hound praises the kid's refined, sadistic style. Showing his arm full of stakes and bandages, the human tells his partner to shut his mouth for once. Purple energy covers the sword as the MC prepares his next devastating attack. Focused on his prey, he firms his stance to tear the beast in half without mercy. In a clean strike that rips through reality, the blade descends, separating the huge monster into two perfect halves. Genuinely impressed, the wolf comments that the suit and Thai guy fights much better than he writes lawsuits. Seriously, the canine demon warns that the party isn't over for them yet. Out of nowhere, more winged creatures sprout from the reddish sky, ready to devour the human. From the corner of his eye, the boy notices a strange movement on the arena's horizon. Far away, the scope of a sniper rifle locks directly onto the unsuspecting prosecutor's head. To make matters worse, the wolf agrees, saying someone always shows up to spoil a fair fight. On a floating rock appears Barbados, the hunter demon, with his long, range weapon in hand. Very close to the sniper, a woman's boot steps firmly on the back of a winged beast. In the scene, we see a stylish girl mounted on a colossal creature, watching the fight. Sadistically, the blonde girl spins her revolver as if she were filming a Western movie. Surprised by the appearance, our hero admits he didn't feel that crazy woman's presence approaching. With her weapon in hand, the girl praises the violent performance of the suit in the battlefield. Mockingly, she reveals herself as Bonnie Parker, a famous serial killer from the Great Depression era. Without missing a beat, the blonde fires at the boy from atop the flying monster. Along with the shot, she yells that a handsome man like him deserves the luxury of being taken out by her hands. High in the hellish sky, the villainous duo provides heavy escort for Bal's giant tower. Full of energy, the killer introduces herself, hopping around as if at a party with friends. Ironically, the prosecutor comments that meeting a crime legend in person is almost an honor. The criminal file of the killer couple who terrorized America in the 1920s flashes through his mind. In the old photos, the duo's sadistic expression perfectly matched the trail of blood they left behind. Cynically, the blonde warns that she'll take out the human faster if he keeps staring at her legs so much. To destabilize the enemy, the MC asks what damage a 100-year-old revolver can do in a magical world. Pissed off, the killer retorts that the gun is state of the art technology in the world she came from. With a genuine laugh, our guy calls the historical criminal an outdated old hag to bruise her ego. Boiling with rage, the blonde feels the provocation hit deep in her soul. In the shadows, her partner named Clyde cracks a sinister smile, amused by the girl's stress. Spinning the revolver in her hand, the killer questions what kind of hole she's going to open in that suited up trash. Hidden under a cloak, her killer partner confirms he'll gladly shoot the boy to please the lady. Without mercy, the sniper unleashes a shower of heavy lead in our hero's direction. Calmly, the prosecutor walks with his hands in his pockets, as the shots tear up the ground inches from his boot. High above, the hunter demon Barbados readies his lethal spear to support his servants in the slaughter. In the blink of an eye, Boone crosses the sky and intercepts the sniper demon with a wicked flying kick to the back. Startled by the impact, the hunter general questions what madness the silver-tongued lord is trying to pull by betraying his own kind. Wearily, the horned fiend complains that his rival would only understand if he had adopted a problematic mortal kid like his. Far from the trash talk, the blonde jumps into close quarters combat, swinging her old gun to hit the hero. Frustrated with his dodges, she screams for the suit to stand still and take at least one punch to the face. Smooth as water, the Avenger says he can perfectly see the trajectory of every strike the killer attempts. A surprise bullet speeds past our protagonist's cold face by millimeters, almost hitting his eye. Through the perfect opening, he charges like lightning toward the killer with his sword ready to cut. Suddenly, the boy's face changes as he notices a bizarre detail in the enemy's suicidal tactic. With an impossible move, the blonde slides under the blade, deceiving the hero's sharp vision. With the gun barrel pressed against his ribs, the historical killer smiles victoriously, declaring the end of the line. Desperately, her sniper partner tells the killer to back off before things go south. In a suicidal move, the blonde tries to crush our guy's head. Almost split in two, he manages a bizarre dodge by bending his spine backward. Taking advantage of the strange opening, the two-headed creature pulls the killer's cloak, throwing her into the air. Furious, Barbados questions what kind of nonsense the Lord of Eloquence thinks he's pulling in someone else's fight. Mockingly, the horned fiend plays dumb, claiming he was just punishing his own naughty little dog. Full of hatred, the sniper calibrates his heavy aim as he loses patience with the cynical excuses. Tired of the small talk, he says Boon's excuses are still as crappy as they used to be. To heat things up, the sniper warns that the Sioux doesn't stand a chance against the blonde. No way. Enraged at being interrupted, the girl aims at the back of whoever lifted her. With no time to react, the prosecutor is riddled with accurate shots to the chest, splattering a lot of blood in the dust. With his guts flying, he demands that his macabre doves bring the enemy's little head to him. In the blink of an eye, the hero figures out the cowardly strategy they just used against him. From the shadows, dozens of beasts with mouths and fangs tear out of the smoke, going straight for the lethal bite. Fast as a bullet, the blonde throws her sniper partner out of the range of the bizarre maws, saving his skin. Impressed by the trick, the MC realizes the shots had a mind of their own, pursuing the target in the air. Saved by a hair, the killer catches her breath after dodging almost certain doom. With no time to breathe, the boy launches a colossal energy blast with his sword, cutting the entire sky in two. The lethal impact of the blow ends up tearing the blonde's arm, who roars in pain, unable to believe the enemy's brute force. Dodging the flying debris, Boon mocks the killer's luck, saying she slipped up at the wrong time. Soon after, the Lord smiles and tells the hunter Barbados to spill the beans and share some good gossip about this whole mess. Playing the arrogance card, Boon accuses the enemy's techniques of being nothing more than cruel and talentless blows. To add to the humiliation, the MC dominates the killer and warns that the bloody hole will be her final grave. Groaning and trembling in terror, the blonde calls for help from her sniper partner as her strength abandons her body. Worried about the kid, the Lord grumbles that the human shouldn't play with his food, and should just finish her off. The eye on Hunter Barbados's forehead glows green, charging with pure annihilation power. Realizing the trap, the Horned Lord tries to warn his prosecutor, but it's too late. Mounted on a bizarre bird, the enemy henchman aims his weapon straight at Boon's face, promising to avenge his partner at any cost. Immediately, green smoke swallows the entire arena as the MC and the demon try to dodge the nuclear explosion. Enraged, Boon curses the opponent for being ill-mannered and firing a heavy shot at the passenger seat. With a stern face, the sniper warns the Lord not to interfere in the fight anymore if he doesn't want to go down with them. To drive the threat home, the enemy swears he will get his bloody hands on Boon's soul. Seeing the open window, the human takes advantage of the chaos to get up, focused on blowing the killer blonde's head off. In a final scream, she tells the sniper to shoot everyone there without mercy to clear the area. Instead of a normal shot, the psycho's gun spews thousands of explosive pellets in a generous gift of total destruction. Blowing a devilish farewell kiss, the blonde gets on the winged beast, laughing at the impending doom. With no reaction, the hero takes a blast to the back, going straight to the ground, swallowing blood. Bleeding, the hero slides face first on the dry earth, leaving a red trail on the infernal soil. The destructive blow devastates everything within a kilometer, spreading green magic fire everywhere in a bizarre silence. Amused, the canine demon taunts the banged-up kid, reminding him he was almost crushed and his partner didn't even care. The beast then turns and gives him a tip to be more careful in the next shootout, or he won't last another 5 minutes. The warning echoes through the place as the gigantic green ray splits reality in two with the accurate shot from afar. Immediately, Boon throws up a quick shield, deflecting the absurd force and sending it into the fiery skies. Finally panning the suit, and Taigai leans on his sword, his body at the limit of brutal survival. With blurred vision, all he can think about is keeping his feet on the ground and taking a breath. Consumed by pain, he admits that without his partner's dirty help, the situation would be a real mess. In his mind echoes the memory of the serial killer stepping almost with disgust, saying he'd be taken out in the blink of an eye. With his back to the monumental tower, the prosecutor realizes the gravity of the absurd level of his adversaries in this crappy purgatory. Planning his next move, the hero sees the urgent need to bail, get away from enemy eyes, and find shelter to recover his strength and not bite the dust. At the same time, he perfectly understands that Lord Boon wouldn't give his little dog a break so soon without messing with him first. With no time for a fight where demons can't even directly intervene, the prosecutor focuses on his own salvation above the signed agreement and ignores the threats. Decided, he bolts and leaves the infernal lord behind, mentally wishing the arrogant demon sweet dreams. Casually walking in a vivid red landscape, the kid disappears into the smoke, his posture all messed up but holding on tight. Breathing heavily, he stops and notices that hell should have some geographical limit or climate change after days of walking. Covered in blood, he hits the ground on his knees, angrily remembering the heavy damage done by the enemies. Gritting his teeth, he tries to support himself on the ground, promising he wouldn't drop dead in a disgusting hole like that with no explanation as to why he was there. The dirty words about his own wife and daughter's accident echo in his injured head, with empty promises of their return. Focused, the hero tries to hold on to the thought that there must always be a second road in this disgusting immensity for him to achieve the true miracle and revive his family. Suddenly, a strange landscape appears, full of green grass, like a deadly forest full of glowing spiders hiding things deep inside. Staring at a bizarre web of light on his face, the boy senses the dangers and readies his sword to take out anyone who gets in his way. Suddenly, a group of people in crow beak masks appears, surrounding the forest, shocked by the human intruder's audacity. In the blink of an eye, the sword flies, decapitating several disgusting big heads and leaving an infernal silence. Trembling, one of the creatures asks indignantly why it's facing a weapon with magical powers like those of the lords. Cold and straight to the point, the hero threatens the doctor to give him some healing spell, since the nickname had to be worth something. Laughing like a madman, the sick monster throws it in his face that in a hell for sinners, there are no special treatments or merciful doctors. Before finishing his sentence, the MC shoves his sword deep into the doctor's belly, sending black goo flying into the air. Full of himself, he tells the poor soul to keep quiet in his grave, since he didn't have the right answer he was looking for. Terrified, the other servants start whispering among themselves, thinking they'll all be minced by the crazy killer, and retreat into the shadows of the dense, dangerous woods. With a freezing gaze, the boy adjusts his glasses, focused purely on cleaning up the trash around him. Shortly after walking, he spots a trapped cart with the souls of sinners begging for salvation, squeezed together in a macabre pile of dry bones. Crying in panic, a poor soul from inside begs for asylum, pleading because the fear of the darkness terrifies him and asking for help for free. Curious, the boy asks the sinners the real reason all the prisoners fear a mere green forest, since sinners' bodies were already eternal there. Gaining courage, the miserable soul speaks of the diabolical cruelty that happened, using their infinite flesh as patches for the sorcery of the main witch, Phoenix, who commanded the woods of perpetual pain. Through pure logical deduction, he concludes that some cursed old timer around there carries a strong restoration magic on his back, full of advantages, and cracks a malicious little smile. Full of dark joy, he draws his blade in the darkness, concluding that this bizarre discovery is the first stroke of luck of the month there, in the boundless darkness of hell. Step by step, our hero walks through a macabre, swampy forest under the dark sky. Wiping away the cold sweat, he mentally thanks his lucky stars for not being followed there by the psycho killers. Dragging his feet, exhaustion hits hard as he leans against the root of a giant tree to keep from falling. At his body's absolute limit, the kid whispers that he just needs to close his eyes for a second. In that same moment, a dark voice from beyond calls him out on the stupidity of making noise in a monster's den. Boiling with rage, the leader of the cursed doctors warns that the outsider's chatter will get everyone there taken out. Glancing at the creature from the corner of his eye, the hero lets out a mocking smile, without backing down. In a tone heavy with fury, the chief orders his servants to quarter the talkative newbie without a trace. Suddenly, a shot cuts through the darkness, blowing the brains out of one of the masked figures out of nowhere. With an insane spin, Juke herself tears through the scene with knives, dicing up the bizarre doctors in the dark. Screaming, the masked figure questions if the shooter has gone completely insane for using a firearm in the goddess's woods. Without mercy, a luminous bullet embeds itself in the monster's chest, ending the scolding right there. Completely exhausted, our MC leans against the tree bark, repeating that he just wants to take a sacred nap. In the shadows of the crawling woods, more henchmen with scythes and weapons emerge to ambush the duo. Stealthily, an entire legion of cursed doctors surrounds the hero from the left flank. Closing in, the creatures prepare to finish off the insolent human who broke the peace of the grove. Head on, the masked leader asks if the outsider is the crazy one who invaded the territory of the goddess Phoenix. Smiling, the doctor thanks them for the shots that worked like a perfect flare to find the prey in the darkness. Leaning against the tree, the hero sighs tiredly, murmuring about the irony of doctors carrying war axes. Ironically, he jokes that the oath to do no harm must have been left back in the world of the living. With hatred, the doctor points his weapon and sentences that his demise is the just payment for the noise in the sacred forest. Lowering his head, the Avenger repeats his disappointment in the swamp gang's lack of professional ethics. Quickly, he pushes off the tree, drawing his red sword with startling agility. Without losing momentum, he curses the band of wretched, cursed beings, ready for the massacre. The sword glows, splitting two monsters in half as the boy calls them all miserable insects. In a bloodbath, the forest turns into a meat grinder, sending pieces of sinner flying everywhere. Amused by the chaos, the MC comments that the killing festival itself seems like child's play compared to this carnage. Suddenly, a massive pillar of impact crashes down from the sky, crushing everything within a 10-meter radius. Trembling with terror, the trapped souls scream for help as divine destruction rains down on their heads. Amidst the dust, the remains of doctors and sinners form a bizarre pile of infernal garbage. Leaving only a red puddle, the brutal impact reduces half a dozen enemies to magic dust. Sliding with his sword, the boy retreats just fast enough to avoid being turned into pulp in the same attack. Panting, he adjusts his glasses and confesses that this close call was a bit too dangerous for his own taste. Dripping with irony, he tells the corpses to enjoy the great beyond. Suddenly, an overwhelming presence freezes the air, forcing the hero to whip around. Dragged along the ground, one of the masked figures focuses his gaze on the darkness, asking where the monster is going. In a grotesque scene, a gigantic fist sinks into the doctor's chest, lifting the poor guy into the air like a doll. With the speed of a lightning bolt, the brute rips the guy's head off in a clean twist. Screaming, the piled-up corpses cry for help, swearing vengeance against the relentless killer. Without a shred of pity, the giant smashes his hands into the mass of sinners, silencing their screams. Walking out of the shadows, a four-legged abomination steps in the blood with bulging eyes. The monster's bizarre chest rips open, revealing the macabre face hidden beneath its ribs. Absorbing the mortal remains, the beast swallows the victim's energy, chewing on their bones. In the creature's belly, dozens of souls cry, mixed in a pool of pure agony. Completely paralyzed, the hero watches the infernal feast with a look of pure disgust. Utterly sickened, he vents that watching the demon eat people alive turns his stomach. Focused on survival, his instinct screams that going face to face with another high-ranking officer will end in his demise. From the skies above, another brutal impact descends like a meteor, smashing the absorbing abomination to pieces. Amidst the bloody steam, a colossal chess piece lies fallen, like the murder weapon. On top of the smashed carcass, a shirtless giant flexes his muscles, putting his weight on his boot. Surprised by the strength, the boy tries to process how a creature of that size was obliterated in a single blow. With a crazy smile, the muscle-bound warrior announces that he's finally found his runaway target. The giant pawn piece serves as a prop, while the monster celebrates the successful hunt. Floating in the dark, a mysterious entity in a white mask descends, demanding piece number 64 for its game. Not believing his own bad luck, the prosecutor concludes that running into the forest was the biggest mistake of all, and he's run head on into another boss. Snapping its fingers, the cloaked creature reports that it followed the full stench of Lord Bune straight to the forest. Hovering over its prey, the masked figure says it expected to find the Lord of Eloquence, but only found his lost little puppy. Pondering, the monster deduces that Boone would never leave his own contractor alone in an open hunting ground. In a surprise explosion, the MC attacks with everything he has, trying to take the target's head off with his energized sword. Immediately, the muscle-bound warrior intercepts the blow, throwing an absurd pink ray and blocking the lethal cut. With lethal coldness, the big demon reprimands the suited boy's suicidal haste. Disappointed, the masked entity says that attacking the invincible pawn with that little sword will accomplish nothing. Urging for permission, the muscle-bound warrior pleads for his lord Fornus to let him grind the punk's bones real quick. Hearing the forbidden name, our hero recognizes the demonic lord instantly, and a chill runs down his spine. Mocking their troubled relationship, the cloaked demon says that Boone treats his partner so badly, it's no wonder the boy wants to run away. Looking like an intellectual, Fornus deduces that the prosecutor was trying to cover up his fear by pretending to be a submissive henchman. From his furious expression, our MC realizes the enemy is easily falling for his own delusions of grandeur. The big muscle-bound warrior loses his patience, asking if the beatdown is cleared to start, so they don't waste any more time. Authorizing the massacre, the bizarre entity agrees that slicing up the scaredy cat is the perfect offering before Bune arrives. Curious, the masked lord recalls the human's file, mentioning the exact prosecutors of justice who arrested him in the past. Facing the beast's fury, the hero tries to focus on the empty eyes of the muscular giant. With his weapon looking like a luminous ray, the brute swings the giant pawn with enough weight to crack the planet. In the brutal collision, the prosecutor feels the absurd impact, noticing a crack appearing on his magic blade. Screaming with pure hatred, the muscle-bound warrior tells the hero to perish over and over, sending dust flying everywhere. With his vision shaking, the boy understands that in a direct clash, he'll be turned into ground meat, but trusts there must be a card up his sleeve. With blood in his eyes, the muscle-bound warrior raises the giant pawn, promising to crush the human right there. Casting a clinical gaze, the MC calls the giant's method barbaric and stupid while adjusting his glasses. Feeling offended, Fornus vents that he is a noble intellectual and despises those who use brute force. Laughing out loud, the brute finds his boss's excuse for not getting his hands dirty pathetic. Instantly, the big monster's smile dies as he realizes the boy wasn't paying attention to the threat. With no time to think, the brute charges like a tractor, knocking down trees and breaking everything. Maintaining his pose, the masked one tells the prosecutor to shut up and stop philosophizing about violence. Firm on the ground, the Avenger retorts that using force without brains is the ultimate proof of stupidity. Face to face with the monster, the MC questions if the giant has ever taken a life, besides breaking rocks. Curious, the big monster puffs out his chest, waiting for the brat to explain himself better before becoming pulp. With lethal coldness, the hero cracks a demonic smile and says he's sent countless people to their graves. Through his memories, we see windows shattering and people plummeting to the great beyond under his judicial orders. Immediately, the memory of a big shot falling from a building the day before his own demise flashes on screen. With a sadistic look, the prosecutor teaches that in the modern world, Only the state has the authorization to legally end a life. Mockingly, he adds that the most deadly and efficient tool of all isn't a giant sword. Smiling like a maniac, he reveals that the absolute weapon of passing has always been a prosecutor's sharp tongue. To prove his point, he throws on the table that he prosecuted more than 50,000 criminals in a decade-long career. Recalling his past, the boy confesses he forged evidence to send the bad guys straight to the hole. Staring at the monster with pity, the human boasts of having condemned multitudes using only cold words. Without mercy, he calls the brute incompetent for having taken out only half a dozen with that piece of wood in his entire life. To humiliate him further, the MC throws it in his face that he took out criminals while society applauded and called him a hero. Surprised by the revelation, Fornus applauds the human's demonic silver tongue and confesses he's dying of envy of Boone. Foaming at the mouth, the muscle-bound warrior promises to rip the kid's guts out for his disgusting mockery. Right after, the brute announces that the first thing to be cut will be the suit's venomous tongue. In a burst of energy, the MC vanishes into the shadows, disappearing from the furious enemy's sight. Activating full-on war mode, the giant's body transforms into a living, bizarre chessboard. Confused by the change, the Avenger takes a few steps back, analyzing the new stone armor that covered the monster. Full of himself, the brute throws himself forward, telling the prosecutor to shut his mouth by force. Desperate, Lord Fornus tells his lackey to stop his blind charge through the woods. Suddenly, a band of pale arms sprouts from the trees, grabbing the big monster in mid-air. Flying to the side, the hero escapes the blow as the ambush catches the brute head-on. With a sly smile, the prosecutor thanks the trapped souls for waking up at the exact moment of the attack. Fast as a lightning bolt, he takes advantage of the chaos of the hands, pulling the giant to disappear among the foliage again. In agony, the monster tries to rip off the body stuck to him, blaming Lord Boone for this mess. Urging for help, the muscle-bound warrior screams that the damned prosecutor can't escape in such a cowardly way. With brutal force, he smashes all the ghosts on the ground at once, raising dust. Furious, the masked entity curses its own lackey for being stupid enough to fall for the distraction. Tearing through the wind, a bizarre scythe cuts through the darkness of the woods, hunting for any trace of the human. Mad with rage, the big monster promises to hunt down and grind the crappy prosecutor until only dust remains. Hidden behind a rotten log, our protagonist breathes heavily, trying not to make a sound. Swallowing his pride, he laments being crouched in the mud, running from a brainless brute. Assessing the situation, he checks the crack on his own sword, understanding he can't go head-to-head with the aberration. Concluding certain defeat, he accepts that the only way out is to hold on, hidden, until an opening appears. Far away, on the outer edge of the forest, the killer blonde and the canine demon continue their pursuit. Calmly, the girl confirms she's found the head out of the forest doctor, who fixes severed arms. From the sidelines in the shadows, another masked killer cheers for the arrival of the rescue team. Immediately, the sniper informs the hunter demon Barbados that the killer has finally landed at the healing den. Inside the woods, the muscle-bound warrior kicks the trees, screaming for the cowardly human to show up and fight like a man. Desperate, the creature punches the ground, asking which way the suit and Tie Guy ran off to in the darkness. Tired of playing hide and seek, the monster prepares a seismic attack to destroy the entire forest. In desperation, the hero throws himself to the side, trying to escape the lethal detonation zone. Finding the giant's stupidity fascinating, the MC grumbles that the guy is a complete idiot. Right at that moment, a bizarre white mask appears upside down, stuck to the hidden prosecutor's face. Covering the boy's mouth, the entity warns him not to use magic or summon monsters if he wants to live. Getting the message, the human agrees and demands to know what the masked lord wants with him. Straight to the point, Fornus confesses that the kid's intelligence has completely won him over. Laying it on thick, the entity praises the human's mental runaround that bought precious time before the muscle-bound warrior attacked. Pointing at the brute, the masked one mocks his own henchman, saying his brain is pure useless muscle. In his cold analysis, the Lord warns that the giant will end up getting taken out by running headfirst into things, like a blind bull if left alone. Pessimistically, the creature states that with a lackey like that, winning the Millennium Festival is an impossible dream. Proposing a wicked deal, Fornus suggests trading his pieces of the ring for the prosecutor's free pass. Surprised by the audacity, the boy doubts such a betrayal is even allowed by the rules. Explaining the loophole, the mask says the transaction is exclusively between demon lords, without involving champions. Basically, the plan is to temporarily knock out the human until Boone arrives to close the bargain. Without letting his guard down, the hero demands a good reason to trust a guy who just betrayed his own servant. Understanding the distrust, Fornus decides to offer a gift of good faith right there in the darkness. Recounting the giant's past, the entity says the monster took a blow to the head and fried his frontal lobe when he was human. Due to the brain damage, the brute's side was left completely unprotected, without any chessboard armor. With the enemy's weakness in hand, the masked lord asks if the human has finally bought into the plan. To seal the deal, the entity swears on its life that demons never tell lies, Apparently, this infernal cosmic law is absolute and impossible for any lord to break. With a suspicious smile, the MC extends his hand, accepting the evil deal on the spot. In that very second, the giant white Jukova flies from his sword, straight into the eye of the traitorous masked figure. Standing up, the hero scoffs at the demon's innocence for thinking humans would be easy to fool. With blood in his eyes, the boy aims directly for the muscle-bound giant's weak side, ready for the final kill. With a glow of power, the muscle-bound warrior activates his supreme Mad King form. After the complete transformation, the giant's true strength finally awakens. Eager for someone else's misfortune, the masked figure smiles, waiting to see the panic on his opponent's face. In the entity's hand, the red artifact pulses, ready to trigger the trap. In a quick somersault, our hero narrowly escapes the brute's crushing punch. In complete shock, the cloaked creature realizes the plan has gone down the drain. Blinded by uncontrollable fury, the huge monster starts attacking anything that breathes in front of him. As he drives his blade in, the Avenger reveals that he never fell for the flimsy lie of switching masters. With his sword at the liar's neck, the boy scoffs that even a rookie detective would have seen through the ploy. Without letting go of his prey, he dominates the situation, showing who really calls the shots. Immediately, the sword comes down, tearing through the flesh of the Lord of Discord with an ironic farewell. Suddenly, the muscle-bound warrior grabs the suit's leg, interrupting the lethal finishing move. Thrown like a rag doll, the human flies far away after a furious curse. Roaring in pain and hatred, the muscular beast completely loses control. All banged up, our boy can barely stand as he grumbles about the savagery. With his eyes on his weapon, he notices in shock that the magic blade has actually broken. Fascinated by his resilience, the monster decrees that the target will be the final piece on his bizarre chessboard. Drooling with rage, the giant swears to turn the kid into an offering for his king. In the blink of an eye, the aberration enters the second phase of madness, activating absurd abilities. Like an uncontrolled meteor, the brute leaps onto his prey, ready for the crush. With colossal force, the blow sinks into the ground, raising a deadly cloud of dust. With nowhere to run, the prosecutor realizes that dodging is no longer an option. Suddenly, a silhouette crosses the air, blocking the fatal attack at the last millisecond. Gaping, the traitorous lord doesn't understand who dared to interrupt the perfect execution. Emerging from the smoke, Boone appears, saving his contractor's skin right in the nick of time. Full of irony, the Horned Fiend tells them to continue the fight, as if he wasn't even there. Desperate, the White Mask screams, demanding an explanation for the sudden invasion. With a bored look, the big boss says he hates a disobedient partner who, on top of that, breaks his sword. Without mincing words, he humiliates his rival, calling him a useless, uncreative bureaucrat. Outraged, the entity complains that the human only offered his own life in the contract, thinking it was all a scam. Intrigued by the pack's logic, the creature doesn't understand how the kid didn't sacrifice anything valuable. Laughing at the situation, the Lord ignores the trash talk and suggests slicing up the enemy at once. In a total panic, the traitor goes into a tailspin, cooking up 1,000 conspiracy theories in his head. Straight from his memories, the scene flashes back over a century, showing the demon in the midst of a bloodbath. In the middle of the carnage, a sprawled body paints the floor a vivid red. Reflecting on the danger, the mask deduces that it's impossible for the big boss to accept his demise for free. To break the tense silence, our guy calls his boss over for a serious talk. Eye to eye with the monster, he reminds him of the rule, where the passing of one takes the other down with him. Mockingly, the Horned Fiend strokes the suit's head, asking if he's lost the will to live. Gritting his teeth, the MC tells the demon to stop messing around and teach him the plan for victory already. As the final bait, the demon demands the human's daughter's soul in exchange for the absolute power to crush everyone. Silently, the Avenger freezes at the sick proposal to sacrifice his own family. Immediately, the sweet memory of his little girl running into his arms floods his mind. In a nostalgic moment, the doting father hugs the child who had waited up for him, missing him. Amidst vows of sincere love, the pure relationship between the two becomes evident. With a heavy heart, the image of his little girl fades, leaving only the harsh reality of the underworld. Filled with blind fury, the hero curses his boss, confirming that his reputation as a cheater was real. Enjoying the rebellion, a macabre smile forms on the manipulative demon's face. Grabbing the Horned Fiend by the collar, the boy forcefully concludes that the creature can't actually read minds. With a lethal gaze, he wants to know how much of his life was leaked by the other lords. To stop the fight, the muscle-bound warrior lets out a deafening roar, ready to attack. In a show of brute force, the monster shreds smaller henchmen, splattering blood everywhere. Mutilated bodies fall lifelessly, showing the beast's uncontrolled fury. Cold as ice, our suit, and Taigai questions if the bosses of hell truly command the wicked souls. Losing patience, the White Mask screams, demanding action from its giant lackey. Pointing frantically, the entity orders a lightning, fast attack to capture the ultimate prize. Out of nowhere, dozens of rotten hands sprout from the ground, holding the brute's legs firmly. Completely surrounded by the living dead, the muscular aberration panics, not understanding the ambush. In command of the magic strings, the hero reveals he summoned his own pawns to shield the king. Straining to break free, the giant grumbles that a pile of rotten meat won't stop his strength. Through the dry branches, a mysterious figure leaps toward the chaos. In the air, the bloody Queen Mary I appears, swinging swords ready for a massacre. In a perfect move, the royal blade cuts the monster's face, splattering thick goo. Even bleeding, the beast cracks a sadistic smile, enjoying the adrenaline of the new combat. With an absurd flex, the brute shatters the chains of the undead with a crack of bones. Like a ghost, the swordswoman attacks from all angles in an incredible deadly ballet. After a sequence of blows, she lands unscathed, ready for the next charge. Trembling with fear, the masked entity can't believe its face. To face with the legendary killer monarch. Confirming the suspicion, another suited lord pops up in the shadows, admiring the historical figure. Full of poise, the rich man comments on the woman's reign of terror 500 years ago. Annoyed at being ignored, the horned fiend demands attention from the newly arrived demon in the area. Mockingly, the new invader introduces himself as the Lord of Kindness, gossiping directly with the traitor. Pissed off, Boone curses his turncoat colleagues as rotten, disloyal souls. Paying no attention to the boss's drama, the human focuses entirely on coordinating his zombie troop. With his arms locked holding the swords, the muscle-bound warrior laughs, telling the queen to hit harder. With his mind racing, our MC figures out that the winner of that fight will be his next direct target. The obvious conclusion hits him hard, and he decides he needs to eliminate one of the two as soon as possible. Nearby, the giant brute takes a brutal hit right to the face. Cold and calculating, the prosecutor analyzes the scene, waiting for the exact moment to act. In that instant, a perfect opening appears as the big guy focuses all his fury on the white-haired girl. Mad with rage, the monster swings his colossal weapon with the intention of crushing the enemy. Without mercy, the violent impact creates a bizarre shockwave on the battlefield. Blinded by hatred, the giant curses his adversary, showing all his uncontrollable fury. Fast as a lightning bolt, the killer dodges in the air while the brute complains that she jumps around like a pest. During the move, the blonde retaliates, slicing the giant's body with cutting threads. Landing stylishly, the girl challenges the enemy to dodge her surprise attack. Immediately, a wicked explosion sweeps the ground, sending debris flying everywhere. Dust and magic mix, creating a dense fog in the middle of the dark forest. Slowly, the smoke clears, revealing the landscape devastated by the impact. From a high branch, the killer observes the damage, waiting to confirm the target's demise. Letting out a macabre laugh, the giant scoffs, asking if the girl thought he'd be turned into ground meat. Firm on the ground, the huge monster promises to hunt down and crush the enemy without the slightest mercy. Suddenly, our hero appears from behind and drives his red sword straight into the brute's back. In that millisecond, the prosecutor remembers the strange sensation from when his blade broke like a bone. Using his instinct, he realizes the magic weapon works exactly like an extension of his own body. With a violent pull, the boy uses threads of magic blood to connect the pieces of the sword inside the enemy. Red threads tear through the monster's flesh in a devastating surprise attack. Satisfied with the blow, the Avenger confirms that the blade and blood vessels connected perfectly. With a brutal crash, a huge piece of the giant's chest is ripped out. Spitting dark blood, the brute can barely understand what just hit him. Far away, the masked entity enters a total panic, questioning if what he's seeing is even real. Desperate, Lord Forna screams Bune's name, begging for help. With a cynical smile, the horned fiend appears calmly, adjusting his glasses. Full of mockery, Boone tells his rival to stop clinging to life and peacefully accept the end. Trembling with terror, the traitor's mask gets stained with blood as despair takes over. From the corner of his eye, another suited demon comments if the old masked man has lost his touch. In tears, Fornas declares that he would have followed Boone to the end if he had become the king of hell. In a bizarre agony, the traitor's body begins to freeze, turning into magic glass. Shattering into 1,000 pieces, the entity turns to dust while asking the reason for such cruelty. Bluntly, Boone replies that he's an introvert and doesn't like the idea of being king, telling the guy to stop whining. Out of pure whim, the horned fiend says he only cares about his own pleasure and leaves the throne to lazy folks like Bal. Back to the confrontation, our MC finishes off the giant with a clean and relentless cut. Panting, the boy stops amidst the blood, confirming the kill was a complete success. Immediately, the muscle-bound warrior's body transforms into a giant geometric cube. Cracks spread across the form, and the cube begins to crumble into small pieces. In a flash of memory, two muscular men appear playing chess in a closed room. Cold and victorious, the younger one declares checkmate, ending the game. Annoyed with the defeat, the loser grabs an empty glass bottle tightly. Without warning, the bottle explodes on the winner's head in a cowardly attack full of curses. Drinking more alcohol, the aggressor scolds the young man, saying that using the queen that way was in terrible taste. Completely drunk, the man tells the injured boy to go buy more booze. With a bloodied face, the young man faces his own father, revealing that the abuse fried his frontal lobe in childhood. In a fit of violence, the son ends the aggressor's life, marking the first of 17 victims in his criminal life. Straight from hell, the boy recalls his hatred for criminals who make flimsy excuses instead of taking the blame. Relentless, the prosecutor says he hates sob stories and couldn't care less about the monster's sad past. Screaming, the giant's soul is annihilated, vanishing from the underworld for good. With his body exhausted, our hero absorbs the dark energy of the fallen enemy. Looking at his own hand, he notes that he managed to break through the opponent's power threshold. Breathing heavily, the suit and tie guy can barely maintain his posture after so much fighting. Suddenly, the killer girl appears right in front of him, ready for the kill. With no strength left, the Avenger falls to his knees, giving into extreme exhaustion. As he hits the ground, his body simply shuts down in the middle of the forest. Mockingly, the enemy says that sucking up another's power is just a quick fix, and he doesn't stand a chance against her. Ready for the final blow, the blonde kneels down, ordering the human to be torn to pieces right there. Out of nowhere, a bizarre zombie charges from behind the killer, attempting a lethal bite. The girl quickly dodges, instantly recognizing the disgusting ability to manipulate corpses. Through magic, the killer screams the spell's name, activating an energy cannon on her arm. Unstoppable, the zombie creature throws itself against the killer's shield of light. Above them, a cadaverous star-shaped entity appears, revealing itself to be the demon Decarabia. With his head held high, the MC questions if that specter is the true soul of the devil. Completely surprised, the blonde comments on the audacity of controlling absorbed souls so easily. Going for a direct attack, she charges like a rocket with her red blade glowing. In a survival reflex, the boy blocks the thrust using the shards of his own weapon. Eyeing the defense, the killer praises the block and deduces the zombie was just a distraction. In a panic, the prosecutor tries to think fast but realizes his arsenal of moves is empty. Through their mental connection, Lord Boone's voice echoes, offering to revive the human's daughter in exchange for his eye. In total shock, the hero freezes at the sick bargain to get a piece of the magic ring. In that tense second, Boone's sadistic expression changes drastically to pure confusion. To everyone's surprise, a colossal fire monster grabs the talkative lord's neck from behind. To close the scene, the new canine demon declares he can't stand Boone's annoying voice and decides to intervene in the brawl by force. From the shadows, a bearded man with red eyes laments the interruption and just asks to watch the mortal moment in peace. With a sadistic smile, the canine demon snaps his fingers and says he's tired of babysitting an old man. Suddenly, a desperate scream echoes through the forest as the ghost girl calls for her beloved Clyde. Completely confused, the hooded blonde doesn't understand the reason for so much cruelty. Full of jealousy, she screams, demanding to know why he's on a date with another woman when she's right there. Between tears of pure rage, the specter insists on asking the reason for that betrayal. Consumed by madness, she repeats her outburst, demanding loyalty from her missing partner. Bluntly, our MC throws it in her face that the guy is trash and the situation has nothing to do with a romantic date. Seized by hatred, the ghost green eyes light up as she mutters that all men are the same and no good. With two guns drawn out of nowhere, the crazy woman threatens to destroy everything if the betrayal is true. Without a second thought, the killer fires a lethal blast, sending the traitor to hell. In a reflex, the white-clad swordswoman invokes the power of Decarabia to block the mortal shot. Immediately, a colossal energy explosion raises dust and deflects the impact with brute force. Behind the defense, the prosecutor calculates a cowardly attack from behind his ally, but she notices and tells him not to do anything stupid. Firm in her stance, the medic coldly warns that if he tries any funny business, they'll both end up gone. Completely calculating the suit, and Tie Guy just stares and asks why she hasn't slit his throat yet. With a firm grip, the woman confesses she's been waiting for someone with his skills for a long time. Right in the middle of the crossfire, the medic proposes a temporary alliance to ensure both their survival. Far from the confusion, the rookie lord makes fun of the horned fiend, asking if the festival has turned into a dating show. In the shadows of the trees, the bird-beaked masked figures celebrate the perfect opening to attack. Full of greed, the monsters plan to capture the human to get a promotion and please the goddess Phoenix. In a cowardly ambush, several nets fly toward the killer with immediate capture orders. Like hunting traps, the magic nets fall heavily on the swampy forest floor. Fast as the wind, the medic makes a clean cut, tearing the nets before they even touch her. With a crooked smile, the swordswoman scoffs at the monsters, asking if she looks like easy prey. Suddenly, the leader of the masked figures summons his macabre doves and announces that dinner time has arrived. A flash of blood illuminates the woods, and screams of despair echo as the slaughter begins. Amidst the dust, the ghost shooter appears covered in feathers, praising her own massacre. Over the radio, the hunter Barbados warns the crazy blonde not to let her guard down for a second. In a brutal charge, the specter advances with everything she has on the white-haired healer. Sparks fly as the medic blocks the precise blow with her magic blade through sheer brute force. With a psycho look, the shooter demands revenge, accusing her rival of stealing her man, and then trying to take her out. Firm in her stance, The medic retorts that she's only looking for allies and someone else's boyfriend isn't her type. During the exchange of blows, the Spectre gets confused, asking who the white-haired woman is talking about. Sitting comfortably, the Canine Lord makes fun of our hero, calling him a charmer who attracts everyone. With no patience for the small talk, the prosecutor cuts off the demon and demands he get straight to the point of survival. Full of proposals, the Lord suggests the humans sneak away and promises a safe teleport to the other side of hell if he survives the forest. Cold as ice, our Avenger just drops the name of the traitorous demon Fornius as a response. Immediately, the glass mask startles the talkative Lord, who complains about the ghostly appearance behind him. In an interrogative tone, the boy asks for the entity's prediction on who wins the crazy women's brawl up ahead. From memory, the hero recalls that the Bloody Queen made no alliances and went on a killing spree without mercy from the start. With a shard in his hand, the suit, and Taigai analyzes all the pieces of the deadly puzzle. Without a shred of doubt, he reaches the obvious conclusion of what he must do to turn the tables in his favor. Back to the shootout, the blonde deforms the darkness, firing a shower of bullets at her adversary. In a perfect spin, the medic swordswoman deflects the projectiles, creating a shield of sparks in the middle of the arena. Out of nowhere, bizarre white bird-like arms stretch out to ambush the healer. Like living spears, the mutant wings try to pierce the woman, who dodges by a millimeter. Suddenly, the fire brute explodes onto the scene, delivering a devastating punch to the enemy wings. Covered in volcanic flames, the huge monster displays his raw power, ready to set the whole forest on fire. Immediately, a wicked pillar of fire tears through the sky, illuminating the infernal darkness with pure destructive heat. Attentive to the scene, the medic finds it strange to have dealt with 2 attacks when she felt 3 dangerous presences nearby. Looking over her shoulder, she realizes the crazy shooter bailed in the middle of the confusion. Mounted on a bizarre bird, the killer flees through the air, promising bitter revenge against her rival. On the ground, her hunter partner seethes with hatred over the cowardly escape and swears to annihilate the white-haired woman. With the bolt pulled back, the sniper calibrates his aim to finish the job from afar. Full of resentment, the guy blames the medic for stealing the only person who mattered to him in the underworld. With his lens glued to the beast's eye, the killer whispers promises of demise as he seeks the target's head. Fast as a shadow, our MC advances stealthily and appears right behind the distracted sniper. Focused on the kill, the prosecutor murmurs that the perfect opportunity fell right into his lap, and he can't waste it. Right at the enemy's nape, the Avenger readies his blood blade, sealing the Pre's fate without warning. Through the gun's lens, the healer appears in perfect aim, oblivious to the danger coming from afar. Before pulling the trigger, a sweet and sinister voice calls the sniper, "Sweetheart," breaking his concentration. Out of nowhere, a guy in a suit hugs the monster from behind, faking nostalgia for his old crime partner. With a psycho laugh, the young man celebrates the reunion with the famous Clyde Barrow at the bottom of hell. Pissed at being sidelined, our hero grumbles that he's become an extra in the middle of a criminal couple's drama. Without letting go of the macabre hug, the newcomer ignores everyone, asking what happened to his partner's appearance. In a romantic delusion, the psycho praises the furry monster, swearing he got more handsome after he passed. Faced with so much madness, the prosecutor instantly figures out he's dealing with a whole other level of mentally ill. Enraged by the performance, the hunter pushes the young man away, calling him trash and telling him to go to hell. Full of disgust, the hooded creature guarantees he doesn't know that crazy guy and never had anything to do with him in his past life. In a total fit of rejection, the killer repeats the classic speech that all men are the same and cruel. With his head down and heavy steps, the psycho turns his back and walks away, offended by the sniper's blunt response. Finally taking a deep breath, the furry monster thinks he's gotten rid of the complete lunatic and relaxes his combat stance. Without missing the timing, our prosecutor shoves his blood blade into the fake boyfriend's back, breaking his bones at once. After the lethal blow, the psycho turns his face, his eyes glowing pure blue, and blames the aggressor for ruining his sweetheart's personality. With his back torn by the sword, the killer doesn't understand who dared to corrupt his beloved's personality so much. Immediately, the fake boyfriend's eyes glow blue as he holds the bloodied weapon. Taking a step back, the prosecutor hears the wounded henchman ask if the Spectre got a new boyfriend. Holding a magic bow, the suited psycho smiles, taunting his enemies without mercy. With a pure psycho face, he questions if he happens to be the ghost's new love. Out of nowhere, an energy arrow cuts through the wind and almost hits our Avenger head-on. In a burst of speed, the boy tries to flee the surprise attack, but the shot grazes his back, drawing blood and making him groan in pain. A new demon archer then warns that the human flew too far. Full of poise, the magic archer decrees that meeting him means the end of the prosecutor's luck. Mad with hatred, the hunter Barbados charges, screaming to know what the intruder thinks he's doing there. In the midst of the chaos, the blonde Spectre screams with all her might that Clyde belongs only to her. Bleeding on the ground, the real partner tries to tell his beloved that he's the right man. Desperate, The wounded man questions if the ghost has forgotten everything they've been through together. Unwilling to hear explanations, the hunter shoots with fury, telling the fake boyfriend to drop dead. Riddled with shots, the psycho bleeds horribly but tells his beloved not to give him too much trouble. With the bowstring drawn, the psycho threatens to hurt his own ghost girlfriend if she doesn't stop her tantrum. Faced with the bizarre threat, the blonde swallows hard, feeling the weight of the brutal intimidation. Pissed off, the original sniper fires at the fake partner without the slightest mercy. In the same second, a sinister arrow cuts through the scene at an absurd speed. The impact tears through Hunter Barbados's chest, catching the monster completely by surprise. Bored, the new demon archer complains and invites his injured rival to play along. Annoyed as he pulls the arrow from his body, the sniper grumbles that this useless fight is a huge waste of time. As he breaks the magic shaft, he remembers that high hierarchy demons can't take each other out there, even if they try. Like a child, the demon of pleasure Larage suggests the older ones should have fun and chat while the pawns fight. After licking the blood from his fingers, the sadistic creature says pain is a flavor that disappears after passing and should be enjoyed. Cold in his response, the Hunter Barbados admits that pain truly has a unique and special taste. The demon archer quickly fires a shower of energy arrows at his rival to heat things up. With a maniacal smile on his face, the demon asks his enemy to enjoy the beatdown to the fullest. Immediately, the storm of shots destroys everything around, celebrating what's left of that immortal pain. Far from the chaos, our hero finally wakes up, hearing a voice calling for him for a while. From above, the healer medic asks if the boy has finally woken up in the middle of the woods. On the ground, the prosecutor hears he was out for a whole day, and can hardly believe he slept that long in hell. Wasting no time, the woman demands an answer and asks again if he'll accept the alliance. Silently, the suit and tie guy just analyzes the pale figure, waiting to make the right decision. Out of nowhere, the horned Lord Boone appears, telling the human to get up quickly or their heads will roll. In that moment, the hero recognizes the medic's true identity as the Blood Queen, Mary I. From historical memory, he remembers that the monarch burned more than 300 people alive at the stake for pure heresy. Famous in history books, the cruel woman earned the macabre nickname, Bloody Mary. Curious, the prosecutor questions the exact reason she chose him, of all people, to form a team. Sincerely, the queen confesses she became a devil's advocate to use the magic ring and undo all the atrocities she committed on Earth. In her quest for redemption, she sold her own soul to clear her dirty record, but saw it would be impossible to win the festival alone. Full of meddling, Lord Boone comments that greedy humans easily throw their lives away just to fulfill their own whims. With a mocking smile, the demon compares the queen to the MC's ex-girlfriend, who quickly retorts, telling him not to call the deceased his ex. Focused on the mission, the swordswoman concludes that victory will only come if she fights alongside someone who defends others, instead of just seeking power. Mockingly, the fancy demon Ranov points out that the boy was a lie, hunting Prosecutor, and asks how he can trust a villain. Firm in her words, the queen agrees that the smelly Boone finally said something useful in his life. With a small bird in his hand, the suited Ranov confesses that even he feels a mortal hatred for the silver-tongued one. Full of smooth talk, the demon warns that traveling with a talkative cheater has only one final destination: certain doom. Bothered by the truth, the horned fiend grumbles about having to agree with that second-rate, hypocritical lord. The Lord of Eloquence then cracks a demonic smile and suggests that their negotiations have ended right there. Suddenly, our hero straightens up and decrees that he will indeed join forces with the killer medic. With a cold look, the boy says an alliance is a matter for champions only, and he didn't ask for any meddling lord's opinion. Dead with rage, Boone grits his teeth, dying to smash the cheeky human to a pulp. With his hand on his face, the fancy lord laments ending up on a team with the worst demon of all and a completely broken kid. Ignoring the drama, the prosecutor starts walking, telling the group to pick up the pace to get out of there. Eyeing her own arm, the queen says her wounds will heal on their own with a little rest. But the boy falls to his knees, feeling the fatal wound, and deduces he needs the goddess Phoenix's power, or to take out another champion to avoid collapsing for good. Laughing at the misfortune, Boss Boone asks how the children plan to reach the goddess's castle in that deplorable state. Laughing, the monster remembers the forest is packed low-class henchmen, warning that the path is pure suicide. Pessimistically, the Lord tells the human to come up with a good plan, assuring him he'd rather knock the boy out and carry him on his back than let him become dinner. Warning him up front, the queen adds that neither she nor the gossipy demon will fight in the prosecutor's place if things go south. Suddenly, an old man screams for help cut through the forest fog, startling everyone. Desperate, the man runs from an armed monster, asking the group to hold on and wait for him. Kneeling in front of the team, the old guy begs for protection and asks to join the group, claiming to have overheard their conversation. Silently, the MC and the healer just stare at the coward, trying to figure out what kind of scam this is. With his eyes glowing purple, our hero recognizes the old man's face instantly. In his mind, the file of Taigakaku appears, the false Japanese mesa who created a millionaire cult and deceived thousands of followers. Drooling, the false prophet says the prosecutor's name and confesses he always wanted to meet the hero of justice in person. With a cynical smile on his face, the conman tries to act friendly to gain the team's blind trust. In a provocative tone, the false mesa questions how such an upright and incorruptible man ended up in hell. Cold and direct, the prosecutor throws it in his face that the old man fled the country with billions in his account the day before his arrest warrant was issued. Amused, the cult leader admits he would have gotten a life sentence for sure if the investigation had fallen into our guy's hands. Full of swagger, the swindler reveals he moved mountains of money behind the scenes to ensure the case landed far from the MC's desk. Satisfied with his own dirty work, the crook says he set sail on a boat toward his private paradise right after, laughing in the face of the law. Hit squarely, the false Mesai old man takes a fatal shot to the chest, dropping dead. To make matters worse, the ambush happens right in the middle of the swindler's escape trip on a boat loaded with cash. Without pity, the prosecutor scoffs that the killers wanted the money, not to arrest the tax-evading thief. Straight to the point, our hero tells the liar to shut up and call his demon lord over to talk. From the shadows, a blindfolded entity emerges, warning that mortals are blind to their own destiny. With an enigmatic smile, the albino demon introduces himself as Astaroth, the demon of prophecies. With a cold look, our avenger questions the monster's interest in forming an alliance there in the middle of the woods. Brazenly, the false prophet swears he regrets his scams and wants to lead the sinners to heaven. In his sick mind, the goal is to win the festival to save all his follower cattle from eternal damnation. Outraged by the blatant lie, the horned boon puts his hand on his face, not believing the old man's charade. Sincerely, the blindfolded entity admits that his champion's weapon is a simple flute, useless in combat. Because of this weakness, the Lord states that his human needs to stick with the strongest to survive. To convince everyone, the blindfolded monster drops the bombshell that he foresaw their group dominating the Millennium Festival. Startled by the revelation, the fancy demon Ranov asks if this means they'll be the grand champions. Full of suspicion, Boone cuts the mood, saying his masked colleague only says what's convenient to manipulate everyone. But with a macabre smile, the horned fiend agrees that one thing in all of this is pure truth. The demon quickly deduces that the approach only happened because one of them will actually walk away with the crown on their head. Turning her back, the healer medic decrees she refuses to fight alongside a scumbag old man. Cold in her words, she warns that the guy only knows how to talk nonsense, and his eyes are clouded by lies. Without warning, the swordswoman charges with her blade ready to decapitate the false messiah without mercy. Logically, the prosecutor agrees it would be the perfect judgment that was missing in the world of the living. But deep down, the hero knows that depending forever on this unstable woman's healing is an absurd risk. Laughing nervously, the old man pleads for his life as the blade of demise scrapes past his face. At this crucial moment, the suit and tie guy decides he needs the prophecy ability, no matter the cost. In a commanding voice, the boy tells his partner to lower her weapon and spare the trash, at least for now. Out of nowhere, a magic rope sprouts from the ground and wraps around the prosecutor's leg with full force. Caught by surprise, the hero is pulled violently and falls on his back onto the muddy forest floor. Immediately, the bloody queen spins her body, ready to slice whoever made the surprise attack. Swinging her sword, she cuts the wind, but the enchanted rope dodges the mortal blow with an impossible reflex. Firm in its grip, the spell continues to drag the human through the dirt straight into the darkness. With wide eyes, the woman doesn't understand how her own sharp blade failed to block it. From the shadows, the masked doctors appear, warning that the rope has the direct blessing of the goddess Phoenix. Full of swagger, the henchmen celebrate the capture, claiming that not even a champion can escape this magic. Dragged across the ground, our avenger curses his bad luck and the terrible timing of the ambush. Right in his moment of need, the false Mesa pulls out his wooden flute and begins to play a bizarre melody. Completely confused, the prosecutor looks to the side, not understanding the little musical show in the middle of the battlefield. Suddenly, the magic rope loses its strength and releases the prisoner's foot without any explanation. Freed from the grip, the boy falls to the ground, regaining control of his scraped body. He quickly gets up, adjusting his suit and realizing the old man's ridiculous magic actually worked. In front of them, the masked monsters lose their minds and start dancing uncontrollably like fools. Satisfied with the sonic spell, the old man wipes his mouth, displaying the true power of his harmless flute. Smiling in the shadows, the blindfolded lord explains that the instrument's sound is just annoying noise to strong demons. But for weak sauce enemies, the sound becomes a hypnotic command, impossible for their feeble brains to ignore. Like puppets, the creatures shake it in the middle of the woods, completely dominated by the mind, control music. Cold and analytical, our hero silently admits that the old man will be useful for clearing a path to the big boss's door. Showing off, the old man takes the lead, ordering the group to march straight to the impenetrable castle. To the sound of the flute, the troop walks calmly through the dark forest, escorted by the enchanted monsters. In the back, the Lord of Eloquence confesses to his partners that the festival days have been incredibly fun. In the prosecutor's mind, he assesses the absurdity of that team, formed by a born corrupt official and a historical killer. On one side, the bloodthirsty serial killer queen watches the terrain, ready to kill. On the other, the shameless swindler commands an army of beasts, as if he were the king of the hill. Ironically, the boy thinks they form the worst and most pathetic band of mercenaries ever seen in hell. Hidden in the bushes, the psycho fake boyfriend watches the group pass with hatred in his eyes. The demon of pleasure advises the crazy guy not to shoot, as it would be suicide to face so many people at once. Even injured, the lunatic sniper ignores the warning, keeping his rifle locked on the target's head. Seriously, Lord Larage holds his ally's arm, forcing him to lower the weapon and not screw up. Calmly, the demon suggests they follow the targets from a distance until the perfect opportunity to strike appears. Far from the ambush, the bizarre group finally gets close to the sinister mansion of the goddess of healing. In front of the palace, a gigantic horde of dark monsters guards the main entrance to the grounds. Faced with the army, the suit, and tie guy stops his walk, calculating how they're going to get past all that. With zero patience, the swordswoman presses her blade against the flutist's neck, telling him to stop the little tune. Bluntly, she warns that the prosecutor is not doing well and the team needs an immediate break, so he doesn't pass out for good. Full of irony, Lord Ranov agrees, saying the injured human becomes dead weight in the main fight. Surprised, the prophet demon questions if they really intend to take on the area's boss after this little break. Completely against it, the false messiah gives a malicious look full of second intentions toward the group. Cold as ice, the white-clad woman demands to know what the cursed old man is planning to pull there with that face. Cynically, the swindler replies that he doesn't remember giving anyone permission to stop his show. Furious, the killer swears she'll never bow down to orders from trash with clouded eyes. His ego wounded, the old man grits his teeth, hating the arrogant monarch's lack of respect. In his sick mind, the false prophet calculates if he should blow up the entire team right there at the enemy castle's door. The psycho quickly swings the flute in the air, firing a wicked sonic spell at point blank range. The brutal impact of the magic sends the queen flying, completely breaking the warrior's aggressive stance. Standing before his fallen allies, the old man screams at the top of his lungs that he is the true and only Messiah. With a maniacal smile, he declares that his ultimate goal is absolute omnipotence to control everything and everyone. To complete the betrayal, the psychopath raises his arms, ready to cast a mortal blessing upon his own team. With a wicked smile, the false Messiah asks if his blessing is really that dangerous. Frightened, the Blood Queen retreats as the old man scoffs at her rush to finish the job. Coldly, the warrior confesses she spent a lot of stamina and fears the arrival of other henchmen if she takes too long. Full of audacity, the swindler presses the blade to his own neck and asks if she wants to rest a bit. With a murderous look, he threatens to discard the medic right there if she can't handle the task. Faking humility, the hypocrite swears he'll do his best and asks that no one forget his efforts. Wasting no time, he readies his magic flute to fire another sonic spell. To the instrument's sound, the macabre melody echoes again, scaring away the threats of the dark forest. In the shadows, the Lord of Prophecy watches his crafty champion's little show with an empty gaze. Internally, the old man promises he will use the words of power to enslave and torture the queen to her demise. Far from the confusion, the prosecutor watches the entire movement with maximum attention to not be caught off guard. Consumed by pain, our hero clutches his open wound, bleeding liters in the darkness. From a distance, the medic notices the boy is much worse off than he appears, but masterfully hides his suffering. The certainty that the kid is the type to sacrifice his own body for victory passes through her head. Like a madman, a hooded enemy charges forward, ready to attack the team from the rear. Analyzing the boy's posture, the medic concludes that having something to protect is a huge motivation, but can become a fatal weakness. With a tired sigh, the suit and tie guy just laments the deplorable situation of being all banged up. Not caring about the pain, the hero approaches the false messiah tied up on the muddy ground. Face to face with the cult leader, the Avenger says he needs to ask a very important question. Straight to the point, he questions how a self-proclaimed guardian of the law and a Puritan ended up right in hell. In a dark tone, the boy asks if the bizarre rumors about the old man's past are real. In an insane laugh, the swindler confirms the suspicion and accuses the prosecutor of also having blood on his hands. Bluntly, our MC responds with just the word people, his eyes dead. Faced with the confession, the swordswoman is shocked by the heavy history of the man of justice. With a devilish smile, the hero finds it pure irony to be interrogated by a disgusting cult leader right there in the underworld. Without any remorse, the prosecutor confesses he has annihilated a countless number of criminals. With a violent pull on his collar, he explains that taking out a criminal using legal loopholes is the easiest thing in the world. With eyes glowing with fury, the boy whispers that if he had investigated the old man on Earth, a life sentence would have been certain. Terrified, the swindler realizes he provoked the wrong psycho and there's no way to escape. Up close to the enemy's face, the Avenger drives home the threat, asking if the old man perfectly understood his fate. Cold and calculating the suit, and Taigai decrees that Trash who takes himself out to escape the law should have a minimum of dignity in purgatory. In that same moment, the false Messiah's mind recalls the unsolved case of a very powerful big shot. With a cynical smile, the old man mentions the rumors about the prosecutor's dirty investigation. Straight from the past, famous murder cases without physical evidence come to light in the tense discussion. With pure mockery, the swindler remembers that the lack of evidence at the crime scene made the suspect innocent before the judge. Furious, the old man tears his flower necklace, questioning what kind of physical evidence the boy wanted to find. Maintaining his tough act, the hero retorts that smart monsters don't leave tracks, so he forged fake crimes to drag them in. Laughing at the irony, the false prophet throws it in his face that forgery and unjust conviction are exactly why the boy is burning in hell. Completely blinded by his own sense of justice, the prosecutor yells that annihilating evil is not a crime, and it keeps the world from overflowing with villains. The Lord of Eloquence then appears, reminding that the boy only fell from grace because a demon set a nasty trap for him. In the shadows, the demon Astaroth emerges and decrees that mortals only fall to the underworld because they truly carry rotten sins. Mysteriously, the entity points to the true guilt hidden in the suit and Taigai's soul. Letting out a maniacal laugh, the Avenger challenges the Lords, asking who has the moral high ground to dictate what is a sin. Suddenly, the old false messiah begins to choke and scream brutally, being dominated by a strong magic. Calmly, the demon of prophecy warns that the prosecutor is moving forward blindly, unaware of the tragic future awaiting what he so desperately tries to save. Screaming, the possessed swindler reveals the wicked prophecy that the prosecutor's beloved daughter will become a killer if he wins. In complete shock, the boy processes the absurd idea that winning the festival is the trigger for his own child's downfall. With his eye glowing with energy, he tries to focus his mind and tells himself not to fall for a demon's cheap silver tongue. Above them, Lord Astaroth says he told the truth and had to take out his useless champion to make room for the MC to accept him. Full of disgust, Lord Rano finds it in terrible taste for his rival to use his own human as a loudspeaker for psychological torture. Paralyzed, the prosecutor just absorbs the impact of the revelation, unable to show any reaction. With a leader's posture, the Bloody Queen takes charge of the situation, ready to slice up the meddling monsters. In the monarch's mind, a nostalgic flashback shows her city in flames during a brutal war in the 16th century. In the midst of the infernal fire, a man begs Mary to abandon that lost territory and flee safely to Spain. Desperate, the man yells, asking if the destroyed land of Carlo is more important than their romantic love. Holding her sword with loyalty, the warrior refuses the offer and declares her unbreakable commitment to the nation. True to her principles, she says that if she perishes, the kingdom's name will be eternally engraved on her soul. Without looking back, the queen marches straight into the crossfire, ignoring her beloved's desperate screams. Back in the arena, the medic grips the hilt of her sword and murmurs that love is nothing but a fragile, exposed shame. Gritting her teeth in anger, she decrees that silly feelings only serve to weaken people at the worst possible moment. With his hands on the warrior's shoulders, the fancy lord tells her to sheathe her claws and save her hatred for the moment of revenge. Mockingly, the demon of eloquence says that asking for calm is very easy when it's not your own skin at risk. Eyeing the reddish sky, the horned fiend grumbles that time flies when you're gossiping, but this hell continues to be an absolute bore. Out of nowhere, a destructive purple energy begins to pulse intensely in the demonic big boss's hand. With a sadistic smile, he confesses that the feeling of imminent danger is bringing him a joy he hasn't felt in ages. Far away, the hunter-sniper rests, exhausted, in the desert while reflecting on the pleasure of pain that the bosses enjoy so much. In the shadows, a human body appears kneeling, completely impaled by dozens of lethal arrows. Immediately, a storm of magical explosions bombards the ground, devastating everything on the front line. In an abrupt memory cut, the scene flashes back to the human past, revealing a trashed bar with scattered corpses and a lot of blood. Screaming, an injured man swings a baseball bat, demanding the fallen henchman repeat what he said before. Covered in blood, the aggressor lets out a lunatic laugh, calling the poor guy a coward who only knew how to cry in the corners of the prison. With the bat raised high, the psychopath asks mockingly if he needs to open another hole in the poor soul's face for him to start talking again. In the midst of this brutal slaughter, a well-dressed woman opens the door and freezes in terror upon witnessing the scene. In extreme shock, the young woman stares at the carnage, unable to move a muscle or make a sound. Completely paralyzed, she just widens her eyes at the bloodbath caused by the person she least expected. In a total panic, the young woman watches the bizarre scene of the bar painted with fresh blood in the corners. Without hesitation, the killer turns to the blonde, telling her to run from there as fast as possible to avoid being next. With her body trembling from head to toe, the woman thanks him for the chance and flees, crawling through the corpses. Soon after, the door slams violently, ending her desperate escape into the dark street. In the shadows, a red eye glows, reflecting the pure murderous madness of the moment. Full of cynicism, the psycho asks if his little darling has already forgotten what happened inside. With his gun smoking, the sniper remembers the rule of the game was to eliminate any eyewitness. Utterly horrified, the woman questions why her partner continues to take lives if that wasn't the deal. In their twisted memory, the couple appears throwing money in the air in an absurd criminal spree. During the memory, the psychopath hugs the blonde, swearing that all that dirty money was to ensure the couple's happiness. Outside the hideout, night falls silently over the city, hiding the duo's private hell. Desperate on the phone, the shooter tells someone to flee the area as fast as they can to avoid becoming a statistic. With a glazed look, she freezes as she notices a lethal movement from her own partner behind her. With a maniacal smile, the blue-eyed killer faces his beloved in the darkness of the room, ready to pounce. Back in the present time of hell, the blonde ghost processes the shock and gets a huge scare. Worried about his ally's condition, the hunter Barbados tells Clyde to sit down and rest from the nasty wound. Panting and messed up, the sniper thanks the demonic hunter for his help while catching his lost breath. Cold in his response, the monster refuses to remove the embedded arrow, confessing he was just enjoying the pleasant sensation of pain. With no patience for drama, the hunter rips the stake out at once, complaining about the guy's useless tough guy act. With the hole bleeding, the sniper asks about his runaway partner and hears the girl is probably hiding and crying in the woods. Filled with blind hatred, the monster proposes they take the chance and annihilate the enemies immediately before they escape. With a furiously crazed look, the sniper promises to win the festival and riddle the targets until they become blood-soaked sieves. Sensible and down to earth, the hunter demon bursts his bubble, warning that fighting in that broken state is certain suicide. Extremely calculating, he warns that going head-to-head with Lord Boone now is the worst tactic in the world. To stir the pot, the sniper questions if Lord Larage wouldn't be upset hearing that talk of retreating. Serene in his venting, the big guy confesses he treats Larage like a son, and that's why he wants to keep the kid intact for the end of the game. As a master's warning, the hunter reaffirms the danger of the gossipy lord, while Clyde agrees with a sadistic smile. To change the subject, the big demon asks what his partner's absolute wish would be if he got the whole ring. Reflectively, the hunter comments that his work has always been for others, and maybe he'll spend the victory on someone else. On the other side of the map, the horned lord laughs, guaranteeing he's good as new after a nap. Silent and bored, the Lord of Kindness just watches his talkative colleague get his swagger back. With a white bird in his hand, the fancy suit, and Ty complains about the dry air of the woods, while his rival ironically disagrees. Annoyed by the indirects, Boone tells the Lord of Birds to speak up and say what his problem is. With pure disdain, the preppy one promises to shut his mouth as soon as they start marching again, just to please the old man's whining. In a suspenseful tone, the elegant demon comments on the brutal start of the infernal tournament that's in full swing. In his dark mind, the bizarre vision of an abyssal creature destroying thousands of souls near the giant Tower of Babel appears. Intrigued by the facts, he questions why such a destructive lord from the past is now dragging out a chess game. Full of poise, the horned fiend defends his own tactic, warning that no one can withstand the crushing psychological pressure of his human prosecutor. With a macabre smile on his face, Boone admits that going head-to-head with brute force is still his favorite style of annihilation. Blinded by greed, the Lord decrees that all the king's sacred jewels will end up in his hands. No room for tears. Mocking to the core, the fancy demon calls the idea a joke, since his colleague has a completely disposable human champion. Without missing a beat, the big boss points his finger, reminding him who was the desperate one who begged to join the so-called useless one's team. Pissed by the sharp comeback, the Lord of Birds scowls and mutters curses about his rival's audacity. Screaming with indignation, the preppy guy defends his own champion's honor and accuses Boone of not having an ounce of dignity in his existence. To end the argument, the talkative one swears the preppy guy will still kiss the ground in gratitude at the end of the journey. With that devilish smile drawn on his face, Boone demands that the words of forgiveness be very well articulated when the time comes. Like a spoiled child who lost his candy, the fancy lord turns his face away, huffing with contained rage. Tired of gossip, the Lord of Eloquence cuts the rambling short and calls the troop to get their boots muddy again. On the packed earth, our MC grits his teeth as his injured arm glows with a sinister purple healing magic. With a glacial and completely focused gaze, he clinically analyzes his own body's recovery. With his fist clenched firmly, the hero confirms his stamina is back and his hitting hand is calibrated again. In the most two-faced way, the false messiah notices the miraculous healing and quickly asks if the slicing sword is back in the game. Suspicious of the fake kindness, the prosecutor fixes him with a lethal stare, asking if the old man feels like testing the blade's edge on himself. Seized by absolute panic, the swindler breaks into a cold sweat and denies any rebellious intentions against the human leading the band. With a weak smile on his face, the coward tries to clear his name, calling the Avenger too stressed out and sensitive. Without beating around the bush, the suit and tie guy gives the order for the old man to summon the troop of hypnotized monsters for the death march. Dying of fear from the weight of the order, the flutist stammers, asking the exact size of the army for the journey. Engulfed in a murderous aura, our hero tells the old man to drag as much cannon fodder as possible from that forest. With no way out for his own dirty plan, the false prophet turns his back and runs into the woods, cursing the tyrannical boss. In his sick mind, the old man accuses the prosecutor of being much more of a scavenger and sociopath than any demon born in hell. Enraged by his own incompetence, the swindler stares at his small wooden flute, begging the heavens for a weapon that could slit throats. In total desperation, the false messiah calls out to the blindfolded Lord, stating that the prophecy of killing the prosecutor has to work soon. Frustrated with the divine lies, the old man grumbles that predicting the future should come with a less convoluted instruction manual. In the impenetrable shadows, the demon of prophecy questions if his lackey feels ashamed of his own cowardice and his bamboo weapon. As a master's advice, the entity tells the old man to trust the spell in advance, without blinking into the darkness of the grove. Resigned to his fate, the lunatic applies some disgusting lipstick to his lips and prepares his lungs for the mind control show. With a magical breath, the swindler plays the melody into the wind, and instantly enslaves an entire horde of monstrous henchmen. Blinded by the delusion of power, the old man swears in his thoughts that he will crush the prosecutor's team using those wild beasts. From high above the forest, we see the colossal tide of macabre beasts marching to the rhythm of the gossipy lackey's infernal little tune. Facing the entrance of the healing palace, the team runs into a demonic security barrier 10 times larger than their own. After calculating the distance, the flutist warns from afar that the sound magic doesn't reach the tough guards at the main gatehouse. With a bloodthirsty smile on his face, our hero gives the blunt order for the group to pick up the pace and charge head on without mercy. Seized by battle fury, the prosecutor decides to break down the gates with brute force, using crimson magic as a battering ram. Panicked by the suicidal plan, the old man's eyes widen, thinking the leader's idea must be a bad joke. In the swindler's mind, the heavy realization hits that the boy is setting up the zombie army to be used as a pure meat shield on the front line. Thoughtfully, the prosecutor listens as the old man doubts if they can win even by making the demons fight among themselves. With a smirk, the hero retorts, asking whoever said anything about winning the fight fairly. Straight to the point, he reveals the plan to ambush the goddess Phoenix while the monsters kill each other outside. Terrified, the old man finds the idea suicidal and calls out the prophecy that made him an ally of the group of lunatics. Cold in his response, the suit and tie guy just stares at the blindfolded demon, asking if he made a miscalculation. Calmly, the albino entity confirms the human is absolutely right and his choices will pave the way to victory. Full of mockery, Bune complains that the blind guy loves to meddle in others' lives, speaking in riddles that even a demon finds confusing. Pissed off, the false messiah puts on lipstick, muttering curses against the bossy prosecutor. In his sick mind, the swindler swears the human boss will be the next to go as soon as the goddess of healing falls. Immediately, the magic flute starts playing again, forcing the horde of monsters to march in front as a meat shield. At his body's limit, the old man starts bleeding from his eyes and mouth, unable to withstand the pressure of his own spell. Eyeing the situation, our hero realizes the lackey's mind control ability is on its last legs. Without losing rhythm, he draws his blood sword, which begins to crackle with a wicked purple energy. Agile in his movement, the Avenger swings the weapon, and is surprised to notice the blade's shape has suddenly changed. Satisfied with the new grip, the boy concludes the sword has become much lighter and easier for slicing necks. With a maniacal smile, the prosecutor swears he'll steal the power of prophecy from Astaroth right then and there, without mercy. Focused on his dirty plan, the human reflects on whether the decision to backstab his ally was already foreseen in destiny. Ironically, he asks in his thoughts if the so-called blind demon also foresaw his own imminent demise. Fast as a lightning bolt, the suit and tie guy charges with his sword aimed straight for the false messiah's throat. Surprised, the Lord of Prophecies figures out something is wrong and finds it strange for a human to throw his life away so easily. In his memory, the fancy demon Ranav's voice echoes, asking if their victory in the infernal tournament was already guaranteed. Connecting the dots, the demon realizes the prosecutor is a manipulative scoundrel who distorts reality to his advantage. In the millisecond of the lethal blow, a magic arrow tears through the ground, separating the hero from his target of carnage. Immediately, the shot's impact raises an absurd pillar of light, violently throwing everyone far away. Thrown backward, the old man spits a pool of blood, feeling the raw pressure of the surprise attack. Amidst the dust, the lunatic sniper Clyde appears, complaining that his girlfriend ruined his shot. Full of swagger, the psychopath holds his bow of light and says he missed the shot on purpose to not kill him instantly. Sadistically, he guarantees that from that distance, it would be impossible to miss again and mocks the hero's bad luck. Without losing his cool, our Avenger cracks a small smile, calling the killer a coward who asks for permission to shoot. To add to the provocation, the student Tagai scoffs, asking if the affection the psycho received in prison made him soft. Mad with rage from the humiliation, the sniper screams for the human to shut his mouth and fires a direct arrow shot. Firm in his stance, our MC spins his red blade, deflecting the shot's energy with absurd precision. With the opening created, he charges like a missile toward the enemy, breaking through the long-range defense. In a reflex, the killer dodges to the side, demanding to know how that crappy suit and Tai knew his dirty past. Without answering, the hero brings his heavy sword down, forcing the psychopath to block the cut with his own bow. Pressured by the impact, the psycho's eyes widen, deducing that his blonde girlfriend has been gossiping behind his back. With a grim face, the prosecutor throws the criminal's full name on the table, reminding him he was quite famous back in the day. In a brutal push, he knocks the sniper to the ground, mocking that the criminal's prison trauma has become a pathetic urban legend. Humiliated, the killer gets up, trembling with fury, and swears he'll dice the prosecutor with his own hands. Right in the middle of the threat, the bloody queen pops up from behind and drives her sword into the lunatic's ribs. Holding the weapon firmly, the healer medic challenges the fool to try and take someone out if he still has strength in his arm. Completing the encirclement, our avenger tells the criminal trash to try his luck right there. Caught in the crossfire, the sniper jumps back, tearing his own flesh to escape a double demise. In the air, the psycho draws the string, firing multiple arrows toward the relentless duo. Agile as cats, the prosecutor and the queen block the shower of energy, making the woods explode around them. Fallen on the ground, the false Mesa groans in pain while the boy demon complains about the mess in the original plan. Standing and untouched, the blind Astaroth is called out for letting his own human champion bleed almost to his end. Calmly, the blindfolded lord retorts that he thought the psycho kids just wanted to pick a fight with the big guy Barbados. With class, the demon of birds warns the horned kid that taking on 3 lords at once is a monumental screw-up. Face to face with the brat, the evil troop demands a logical explanation for the cheeky invader's suicidal attitude. With a terrifying smile, the little demon reveals that the real plan was always to focus on the definitive fall of the giant hunter. Blinded by ambition, the mini-demon confesses he needs to suck the future, predicting power from the blind guy, no matter what. Analytically, the suited Ranov ponders that even though he seems weak, the Prophet Lord is a super protected ally there. Without losing his poise, the demon boy raises his hand, offering an irresistible deal to avoid a lordly bloodbath. With his face all deformed by his dark side, the brat demands the false Messiah's head in exchange for the Lord's survival. Back to the brawl, the prosecutor scans the forest with his eyes, hunting for the cowardly sniper who vanished in the dark. Suddenly, his survival instinct blares, and the hero whips his neck around, sensing the imminent attack from the side. By a hair's breadth, the boy dodges his head as the lethal shot tears past, inches from his face. From the shadows, the bow-wielding psycho fires another blast of red energy, aiming straight for the target's chest. At an insane speed, the Avenger catches the arrow in mid-air, warning that cheap tricks don't work on him anymore. Discarding the arrow, the hero charges, closing in on the killer's defense before he can even blink. With brute force, the suit and Tai Guy brings his sword down, forcing the sniper to retreat, stumbling on the loose earth. The raw impact of the blade shatters the bow's aura, sending the psychopath flying, all busted up. Far away, the boy demon tries to convince the lords, claiming their alliance was just a worthless facade. Meanwhile, the bloody queen takes advantage of the sniper's fall, leaping to slice his body on the ground. Full of confidence, the little demon promises that just handing over the old human will end the brawl peacefully, without any passing. With her sharp sword, the white warrior tears through the ground but only hits an illusion that splatters fake blood. Frustrated, the medic notices the fake but scoffs, stating that the coward's weapon is broken anyway. Laughing like a sick joker, the killer raises his head, covered in black magic, criticizing her lack of imagination. In a bizarre ritual, the psycho fuses the magic bow into his own arm, becoming a living weapon in the middle of the arena. Watching from a distance, the boy lord loses his patience, cursing his lackey for using the secret power and ruining the whole plan. Blinded by fury, the mutant archer screams at the top of his lungs that he will wipe out the existence of everyone there without a trace. Sensing the atomic bomb, the medic invokes the power of the corpse star Decorabia to try and withstand the explosive blow. Too fast, the prosecutor realizes the shield won't hold and throws himself on top of his partner, knocking her into the dust. With his body covering the warrior, the hero whispers that the enemy's insane theatrics were just a distraction for the real attack. Full of arrogance, the psychopath grumbles that he already said he has become the living war bow itself. Frustrated and tired, the boy lord shakes his head, decreeing that there's no saving the dumb lackey anymore. With a dark smile on his face, the demon raises his hands to bid farewell to the disposable weapon that just failed. Immediately, the lunatic sniper fires a massive volley of shimmering arrows, spreading terror on the battlefield. Sadistic and with a thirst for blood, he wishes a glorious and spectacular end for each of the enemies there. The lethal energy falls like a silver storm, crushing the shield of black magic with absurd force. Watching the deadly rain, the little demon scoffs, claiming that his partners have already forgotten what it feels like to truly feel pain in hell. Pulling a red battle aura, the horned Boon smiles, calling the kid swagger pure bratty audacity. Ignoring the pose, the infernal boy praises the false Mesa, saying the old guy was actually quite useful in the end. Far from the shootout, the prosecutor feels the impact of the devastating attack and realizes the severity of the damage to his own scraped body. Near him, the bloody queen collapses on the ground with her armor pierced, unable to continue holding the magical protection barrier. Looking to the side, the hero sees the gossipy old man with his back completely riddled with deadly energy arrows. Determined to end the show, the sniper aims more arrows, swearing he will stop everyone's breathing without mercy. Surprised by the empty weapon, the psychopath realizes the Silver Rain's ammunition has finally run dry, and now it's just a fistfight. Focused on the mission, our Avenger faces his rival and promises they'll take each other out later at the enemy castle's gate. Breathing heavily, the prosecutor murmurs that he can't even make it to the goddess Phoenix's castle in his broken state. Dragging his feet, the false Mesa groans, begging to get to the healing area soon before he bleeds out. Not hearing the flute, the suit, and Tai Guy notices the bizarre silence and questions if the so-called hypnotized troupe is still standing around without fighting. From the corner of his eye, he analyzes the macabre situation and quickly figures out the zombie army has turned to dust. In that same moment, he throws the injured old man over his shoulder, guaranteeing the old guy will serve as an escape ride to the fortress. Beating his chest, the false Mesa coughs up blood, demanding to know where the heck the bossy chief is dragging him without warning. With a wicked smile, the boy retorts that if he told him the suicidal plan, the guy would have run off immediately, abandoning the broken alliance. In pure desperation, the swindler grabs the hero's sleeve, reminding him they promised to fight as loyal and faithful companions. Faced with the whining, the prosecutor finally gives in and tells the poor soul to play the flute with what little strength he has left. Even mangled, the old man brings the disgusting little flute to his mouth, ready to play the weakest hypnotic note in the universe. Bleeding through his teeth, he says his lungs are busted, and this will be his last attempt to help on the field. In a war cry, the hero screams to take everyone out, because even though they're messed up, they still have a tactical advantage in the mess. Confident in the crazy plan, the killer queen follows along, thinking that reaching the goddess's healing will solve all her cuts. Tired of running, our MC stumbles but swears to keep his legs firm to not let the crown of victory slip away. Together, the troop advances by fits and starts, cutting through the smaller guards in a brutal scene full of red blood puddles. In perfect sync, the prosecutor and the queen slice through the demonic souls, clearing a path through the dirty woods, like a deadly hurricane. With the magic sword destroying enemy flesh, the team tears through the security lines with pure hatred in their eyes. Observing the massacre, the demon of prophecy Astaroth praises the group's destructive spirit, which never gives up. Nearby, the horned Bune shakes his arm, demanding an explanation from the seer lord about that crazy premonition that saved the day. In a fancy tone, the suited lord strokes his birds and scoffs at the prophecy, calling the horned fiend disrespectful for doubting the obvious. Maintaining his serene pose, the blindfolded one turns his face, confirming that the vision of Bune as the festival champion was pure nonsense to his face. In the mirror of memory, the blind guy remembers the exact moment Prosecutor Honjo crushed the pawn in the bizarre chess game. Certain of what he saw, he decrees without hesitation that the only guy destined to win the infernal Millennium Festival is precisely the human MC. Pissed with rage at the mockery, the horned fiend puts his hand on his hip, cursing the divine nonsense that predicted his human as the great king. Immediately, the little demon kid loses it, pointing his finger in Boone's face to tell him to shut up with those delusional ideas. Enraged by the revelation, the brat screams that a simple, useless premonition doesn't guarantee the final throne for anyone. Seriously. Laughing at the scandal, Boone lowers his glasses, challenging the logic of being made to look weak right in front of his own talkative creation. In the same second, the hunter demon Barbados's eye widens, recognizing that the prophecy joke might have a brutal, hidden truth to it. Trembling with pure macabre joy, the boy of pleasure can't hold it in and bursts into insane laughter at the surreal situation that's unfolding. With his hand covering his disgusting smile, the horned fiend admits that the whole tournament mess has become the most fun game he's had in a millennium. With a frozen expression, the blindfolded lord decrees he'll follow closely to confirm if all this pleasure survives until the end of the carnage. Suspicious, the boy Bune gets in the blind guy's face, questioning if this new friendly threat also came from the previous prophecy's vision. Unfazed, the albino entity responds emptily that he's just waiting to see what the bossy, smart, elect kid's next move is. Far from prying eyes, the fancy lords talk, and the preppy bird lover promises he would never let a pathetic tragedy ruin his hair and his team. With pure-blind conviction, the preppy one guarantees that his rival lord's ridiculous little show won't end in a party or a coronation at the top. Back in the chaos, the MC's group finally invades Phoenix's castle, spreading bloodied corpses throughout the bizarre hall. Facing a giant white door, the Avenger raises his arm, panting, ready to break down the goddess's main hall with the force of his hatred. With a heavy push, the wood groans and gives way, revealing an absurdly bright light that blinds everyone at the entrance for a tense second. Stepping firmly into the blinding light, the prosecutor squints, feeling the sun of reality hit his face after months of dirty, red hell. Extremely shocked, the hero advances, looking at the clear sky and the modern urban landscape, not believing the bizarre scene before him. Confused by the architecture, he tries to decipher if hell suddenly teleported the group back to the middle of a crowded, contemporary Japanese street. With his hand on his face, the boy grumbles, feeling the pain magically disappear from his own scraped body, as if the whole beating never happened. The memory quickly clicks in his head, and the MC recognizes the exact intersection where the car flipped, taking the lives of his wife and little daughter. Practical as a detective, he warns the false Mesa and the medic queen not to let their guard down because of the pretty fake and dangerous landscape. From the shadows, a bizarre armored monster comes dragging its feet, ready to collect a toll in the perfect illusion set up in their purgatory. With their claws scraping the ground, the infernal guards surround the group of champions, warning that the welcome reception will be based on beatings and blood. In the dark interior of the real castle, the door to the Goddess of Healing's room bursts open violently, announcing that the invasion has truly begun. Thrown on a sofa, a pale, blindfolded woman is awakened by whispers, being told that the brawl is already in full swing in the main entrance garden. Calmly, the supreme boss Phoenix grumbles that the annoying noise outside is just a consequence of disgusting people wanting to participate in the infernal war for the sacred ring. Dragging the blindfold across her face, the goddess apologizes for her weak human host and laments not having found a decent vessel to compete properly in the big brawl. Not listening to the fuss, her human partner pours dark blood into a goblet, warning that if he had switched servants, he certainly would have become the most disgusting demon in all of hell, because of the cowardly and low betrayal. In a fit of possessiveness, the lackey hugs the entity's legs, confessing bluntly that she is the only reason his existence is even minimally bearable down there, and acceptable in the torturous darkness. Gaining courage, the suited partner drinks the offered blood and swears with all his words that their macabre love will last for eternity, and nothing will destroy this pure and dirty connection they both carry. With the blindfold covering her face, the goddess Phoenix cracks a pale smile of contentment, returning the bizarre declaration to her faithful protector, without questioning anything in the middle of the total and absolute chaos of the killer festival. Hidden in the white cloak, the woman agrees that living a little longer by her infernal boyfriend's side is worth any effort to break the tournament's rules for good and eat the souls of the other invading creatures without pity or any resentment in her cursed soul once and for all. In the cruel flashback of the prisons, the poisoner partner known on Earth hugs the goddess, swearing loyalty while remembering the dirty reputation he built in his human past of carnages and bizarre atrocities committed in secret. Identified by reporters, the nurse woman Maria, who killed hundreds of poisoned newborn babies, embraces her rotten love, knowing they both match perfectly in the blind and limitless evil that unites the duo in purgatory and strengthens their rotten survival there in the immortal castle. Focused on surviving, the demonic couple clings tightly, promising to devour and tear apart any insolent champion who dares to invade their room and interrupt the macabre little party set up in the middle of the epic infernal war, with no room for friendly fake negotiations or phony truces to their faces. With her beloved's hand squeezing the demon nurse's neck, the goddess Phoenix confirms with lethal firmness that she will slaughter even her own shadow if it guarantees the absolute protection of their nest in the cursed and chaotic hell that's on fire at the gates of the disgusting and noisy castle of pure battle. Finishing their promise, the two touch foreheads, uniting their dark desires for the coming massacre, knowing well that the fight against the invincible prosecutor will cost rivers of magic blood on the white walls of the makeshift hospital that has become their deadly den. The mysterious red eye of the goddess Phoenix peeks from under the transparent veil in the dark. Clinging to her beloved, the entity of recovery whispers her dark plans for survival. In the middle of a crosswalk, the bizarre trio advances as threatening shadows surround them all. Complaining of pain, the old false Messiah tries to pull an arrow embedded in his own leg. Suddenly, the swindler's eyes widen as he recognizes the urban scene, identical to the human world. With a nostalgic smile, he cheers, saying they've returned to his beautiful hometown of Roppongi. Pulling the wooden shaft from his body, the lunatic seems to forget his injuries for a second. Then reality hits and he warns that this peaceful landscape can only be a nasty trap from the big boss. Hidden in the castle, the goddess Phoenix feels that every step of the invaders carries a murderous intent. With no patience, the albino medic threatens the old man, questioning his usefulness there since the routes are infested with danger. Desperate, the false prophet begs for mercy, guaranteeing his visions never fail and that they will enter the castle. In an attempt to buy time, he suggests the team wait for the demonic lords who were left behind in the forest. Cold and focused, our MC raises his red sword, decreeing they will continue advancing right now without retreating. He quickly cuts through the shadows in their path, warning that getting out of that open area is the top priority. In a top-down view, the Avenger and the Bloody Queen slice through the monsters on the asphalt, clearing a path with sheer brute force. With his finger extended, the false Messiah recognizes a famous steakhouse from his time on Earth. Hungry, the old man boasts that the place's dishes were fancy and exquisite. Completely incredulous, our MC stares at his partner, not believing the audacity and randomness of the moment. Ignoring the war, the old man runs, suggesting a break for lunch while the hero tells him to focus on the path. Seized by fury, the swindler screams that his route is absolute and demands respect, as he is no one's doormat. Suddenly, the psycho switches delusions and announces that his holy church is just around the corner, where he'll find his 100 brides. With his patience at zero, the prosecutor deduces that fear has completely fried the rest of his useless ally's brain. Bluntly, he calculates if it's worth decapitating the old man now to steal the prophecy, but decides not to worsen the tactical situation. Far from the fight, the horned Boone runs through the illusory streets, cursing the old man and wishing he had handed him over to the little demon brat. Enraged, Boone confronts Astaroth, asking if putting up with that cowardly champion was some kind of infernal punishment. Silent and embarrassed, the Lord of Prophecies just sweats coldly before the humiliation thrown by his colleague. Without looking back, the false prophet runs alone through the streets, falling right into the enemy's visual trap. In the macabre illusion, women in white dresses call out to the swindler as if he were a perfect savior. Moved, the old man swears he really is the Messiah, and that he would never end up in a real hell. Suddenly, the beautiful bride transforms into a bizarre monster with a giant mouth and sharp teeth, ready to pounce. Before the lethal bite, the prosecutor and the Bloody Queen tear the illusory monsters in half in a violent double attack. Stepping firmly on the asphalt, our hero kicks up dust and gets ready to put the messy house in order. In an aggressive pull, the suit and tie guy grabs the old man's collar, throwing the trash forcefully against the sidewalk. Pinning the swindler to the ground, the Avenger asks with pure hatred if the psycho has finally returned to reality. Right in the old man's face, he calls him a pathetic criminal and tells him to stop testing the limits of his patience. Terrified, the false Messiah hears the warning that his life is worth almost nothing within the group. With his red eye glowing in the darkness, the prosecutor orders the lackey to use the prophecy by force to find the goddess Phoenix. In shock, the prophet indicates that the right way is to turn at the church near the steakhouse and keep going. In the midst of the brawl, the albino healer slices through beasts, screaming that she's reaching her own physical limit. Screaming, the old man completes the riddle, telling them to enter the alley next to it and take exactly 7 steps. Agile in his reflexes, our hero grabs the old man by the suit as if he were a disposable sack of potatoes. In an explosive leap, the prosecutor and the swordswoman fly through the skies of the fake city, escaping the horde of monsters. Landing smoothly on a rooftop, Lord Boone observes the escape, praising the team's speed below. Happy as can be, the horned fiend celebrates his champion's success, stating that the boy is his great infernal pride. Soon after, the group dives straight into the exact spot in the alley, crossing the invisible portal to the next phase. Outside, the Lord of Prophecies notices the portal closed in their faces, while the preppy guy complains about the unfunny joke. Right after crossing the barrier, the troop plummets onto a slippery stone floor, with the old man groaning in pain from the impact. With his body full of embedded arrows, the swindler grumbles, trying to understand where they ended up in the dark. Raising his head, the false Messiah focuses his vision on the dark, enclosed scenery of the new purgatory area. He immediately recognizes the colossal walls and cheers, announcing they've finally reached the real castle of healing. Displaying a toothless, bloodied smile, the old man brags, reminding them that his divine visions never miss the mark. Suddenly, dozens of shadowy beasts with giant maws sprout from the ground, ready to shred the invaders in a second. Without losing focus, the prosecutor draws his blood sword and tells his 2 allies to get back, away from the carnage. Touching the cold floor, the hero activates an intense crimson magic that illuminates the entire hall in red. In a destructive and lethal bullet, the boy pierces the wave of abominations, dicing up all the sharp teeth in the blink of an eye. Completely shocked, the Bloody Queen observes the absurd evolution of the suited young man's combat skills. Stepping on the mortal remains, the MC proves that the near-death experience in the forest awakened his true killer talent. With precise and extremely fast cuts, the red blade sweeps away any obstacle that dares to cross the corridor of death. Intimidated, the swordswoman mentally confesses that if she has to fight her partner in the future, she has no idea who would come out alive. Cold and covered in blood, the Avenger turns to the old man, asking if they just need to go straight, while the lackey agrees, trembling. In a panic, the false Messiah stares at the prosecutor, deducing that the kid tortured people to their end when he was alive. With wide eyes, the old man tries to process the inhuman strength his partner carries on his shoulders as if it were nothing. Before a gigantic door, the hero stops his walk while the swindler remembers the exact prophecy told by Lord Astaroth. In the macabre vision, the old man would be by the hero's side until the top of the festival, and at the last second, would slit his throat without mercy. Seized by a wave of betrayal, the old man cracks a demonic smile, projecting the success of his own dirty backstab. Confident in his destiny, the lunatic affirms to himself that this backstab is the only way to turn the tables in his favor. But looking at the broad back of the suited killer, doubt hits him whether he can really extinguish the life of that cold monster. In an attempt to stay firm, the bleeding old man repeats that his supreme ability is absolute prophecy, and he is in control. In his memories, the blindfolded lord's voice echoes, saying that even an incompetent lackey can see visions of the future. Aware of the price, the demon warned that the prophecy is just the result of choices, and all responsibility falls on the human's shoulders. With a firm hand on his wooden flute, the false prophet calculates if he should release the real accumulated power to finish off the boss right there. Focused on the prosecutor's nape, the swindler tries to convince himself that the sneaky betrayal is the perfect tactic to get out of that zone alive. Full of anxiety, the old man mentally begs for a sign confirming that the time for the lethal pounce has finally come knocking. Far away in the dark comfort of her room, the goddess Phoenix notices the silence outside and says the enemy champions have reached the corridor. Sitting beside her, her lackey partner straightens his posture, displaying a serious and deadly look, ready to defend his beloved to the end. Hidden under the veil, the nurse questions if the goddess regrets choosing her as a champion. Full of pain, the entity Phoenix confesses she loved her first and only regrets not turning her partner into a demon. With her body all banged up, the boss blames herself for seeing her beloved's physical form slowly rotting away. Without showing sadness, the nurse fills a goblet with blood, guaranteeing she holds no regrets. Handing over the drink, she swears she feels the goddess's affection in every drop of that bizarre remedy. Drinking the blood, Phoenix warns that it's just a temporary bandage and promises to use Solomon's ring to transform her partner for good. Lifting her face, the entity focuses her gaze on a clear objective before anything else. Bluntly, the goddess decrees she will annihilate the invading champions and offer their lives as a gift to her beloved. Far away, the false Messiah holds his flute tightly, considering unleashing all the secret power he's been saving. In his sick mind, he calculates if he should finish off the prosecutor right there, thinking it's the right choice. Behind the old man, the ghost of Astaroth whispers in his ear, confirming the idea of betrayal. Right at that moment, our MC turns around and demands the lackey point to the correct door. In an absurd fright, the swindler's blood runs cold, and he wonders what suicidal madness was going through his head. The old man quickly gives up on the betrayal, figuring that failing against the suit and tie would result in a deadly disaster. Trying to hide his panic, he asks for some time to calm his nerves, remembering there are 6 doors in total. Brazenly, the false prophet claims he spent too much energy and needs a break. With no patience, the hero just shoots his ally a death glare and extends his arm to resolve the situation. Violently, the prosecutor grabs the old man's collar, who screams curses at his boss nonstop. From the side, the bloody queen watches the scene coldly as the boy maintains his intimidating posture. With a sharp crack, the warrior's hand slaps the swindler's face in a hate-filled smack. Thrown to his knees, the lackey stammers, trying to come up with a flimsy excuse for the delay. Without pity, the swordswoman delivers a brutal kick right to the false Messiah's ribs. The violent impact sends the old man's body flying backward, cutting through the air of the enclosed arena. With his mouth full of blood, the traitor groans in pain on the stone floor as his bones crack. Firmly on the enemy's head, the medic steps with force, immobilizing the old man for good. Cold as ice, the woman warns that the lackey must have a repressed death wish to be stalling so much. Grabbing him by the hair, our MC explains that those doors require the goddess's permission, or they summon demons worse than any passing. Straight to the point, the suit and tie guy orders the prophet to use his ability by force and find the right passage. With his hands glowing, the swindler begs for divine help from his imaginary god to guide the exact path. Seized by terror, he points in a direction, claiming the prophecy works even with his eyes closed. Internally, the old man curses, realizing all the doors hide deadly abominations. Through a crack, a giant, golden eye glows, revealing an overwhelming presence. In the prophetic vision, the door hides Baal, the supreme king of demons, sitting on his throne of blood. In shock, the false Messiah deduces the team would be turned to dust in a second if they entered there. Desperate to save himself, the lackey places his hand on the handle of a completely different door. In a dirty attempt, the old man decides to look for new allies to get rid of the killer duo. Before turning the handle, the prosecutor's red blade pierces the traitor's hand, splattering blood. With the weapon in hand, the hero warns he's tired of taking orders from an incompetent criminal. With blood in his eyes, the Avenger decrees the swindler's demise right there on the dirty floor. Mad with pain, the old man screams that the team will never find the goddess Phoenix without his vision, Mockingly, the MC retorts that the lackey thinks he's very important, and that's why he played at being a messiah on Earth. Frighteningly, the suit and tie guy confesses he doesn't mind taking out his ally just to make things less boring. In a panic, the false prophet warns that no one will follow a leader who takes out their own teammates. Exchanging a look with the queen, the hero ironically mentions the word trust. In the middle of this hell, wasting no time, the prosecutor ignores the tantrum and deduces that the door the old man stared at the most is the real one. Focused on the lock, the boy prepares to invade the chosen hall through raw intuition. Screaming, the old man warns that opening that passage means the end for all of them. On his knees, the swindler cries and points to the right direction, apologizing for the blatant lie. With his patience at its limit, the hero threatens to rip out the lackey's intestines if he talks about trust again. Finally, the trio throws open the real door and enters the den of recovery. Inside, several mummies tied to hospital gurneys groan, begging for their end in a bizarre scene. Eyeing the terror, the MC confesses he didn't imagine this kind of filth in the Palace of Healing. From the shadows, a deep voice interrupts, asking if his identity really matters. In the middle of the beds, the goddess Phoenix appears in her original, frightening, and imposing form. With a superior look, the demon states that the humans are only there for magical healing. Terrified, the old man notices the creature's absurd energy and finds it strange for a lord to ignore the rules of war to fight head-on. Cold and analytical, the Avenger quickly figures out that the hidden nurse in the back is the entity's champion. Annoyed by his tone, Phoenix grumbles that the boy's way of speaking is extremely irritating. In the blink of an eye, the goddess flies at the prosecutor with a speed impossible to follow. With her hand on the hero's neck, the boss lady warns she would crush his skull on the spot if it weren't for the festival's rules. Almost out of air, our MC's eyes widen, feeling the weight of that lord's colossal strength, unlike anything before. The next second, Phoenix throws the bloody queen with a brutal energy blow. With brute force, the impact drags the medic, destroying gurneys and scattering bandaged bodies throughout the hall. Suddenly, the dead mummies come to life and grab the swordswoman, pinning her in place. At the same time, other bandaged creatures hold the prosecutor's arms with full force. Sovereign, the demon warns that he can't hit the champions personally, but his little pets are fair game. Without mercy, Phoenix decrees that taking out the invaders using the mummies is child's play. Even trapped and injured, the Avenger flashes a devilish and provocative smile. Bothered by the swagger, the entity scowls, feeling the malice in the human's voice. Mockingly, the boy throws it in her face that the demon is only doing this to keep her own partner from going to the front lines to fight. Faced with silence, the MC insists, calling the goddess a romantic for trying to protect her beloved. To make matters worse, the suit and tie guy teases and asks if he hit right on the monster's weak spot. Completely surrounded by the beasts, the hero retorts that Phoenix himself isn't in the best condition to fight either. Behind the veil, the sick nurse observes the tension as her health takes its toll. Ready for the final chaos, Phoenix opens her energy arms and asks if just standing there talking is the best the prosecutor can do. Annoyed by the taunts, the goddess Phoenix warns that all that smooth talk won't get under her skin so easily. In a burst of power, the entity throws the mummies aside and decrees that the human's tongue should be licking her feet. Cold in her response, the boss lady demands immediate respect, reminding the boy he should know how to act before a lord. Faced with the threat, the monster states that a champion would never be taken out by bandaged trash like them. With a sharp look, the prosecutor retorts that he doesn't want to fight the goddess and questions if she thinks he's incapable of taking her out, just because he needs healing. Engulfed in a dark aura, the Avenger reminds everyone which demon signed his macabre contract. Without breaking his bluff, the hero points to the scared old man and threatens to use the power to control demons if his life is at risk. With a sadistic smile, the human scoffs at the boss lady's weakness for hiding behind cannon fodder instead of finishing off the invaders. To destroy the entity's psyche, the boy throws it in her face that she fell in love with her own champion, becoming a pathetic romantic. With cold sweat dripping, the swindler watches the scene, shocked to see a mortal dominate an infernal lord with just a war of words. Consumed by rage, the goddess demands to know how the suit and Tai discovered the secret of the forbidden romance. Exuding confidence, the MC explains that the grotesque state of the zombies proves her original partner is in no condition to fight. With his eye glowing purple, the hero warns that he has nothing to lose in this fight, even if his theory is wrong. Boiling with hatred, Phoenix glares at the target and sentences the cheeky invader to an imminent end. Accepting the risk, the prosecutor agrees he might perish there, but guarantees he'll take her beloved champion to the grave with him. Behind the front line, the medic hears the goddess declare that a romantic with a protective instinct will never win the war. In a moment of weakness, Fenix confesses her only wish is to keep her beloved alive for one more second, away from the bloody tournament. Straight to the point, the prosecutor draws his sword and demands the healing be done immediately so the team can leave in peace. With pure arrogance, the suit, and Taigai decrees he will grant a stay of execution out of respect for the entity's love. With her hand on her face, the goddess lets out a macabre and dark laugh, completely breaking the negotiation mood. Without blinking, the hero of justice maintains his icy gaze, focused on the monster's unpredictable reaction. Mockingly, Fenix murmurs that mortals love to use difficult terms like stay of execution to try and sound tough. With her sharp claws, the boss lady reminds him that verdicts can only be given by those with authority, and all the power there is hers. Suddenly, the horde of mummies charges with total fury, forcing the champion duo to slice through the monsters on the smooth asphalt. Nimbly, the bloody queen swings her blade, decapitating the bandages of the beasts trying to surround the perimeter. Terrified, the old man grabs his magic flute, promising to unleash his secret attack to wipe out the enemies for good. Before blowing, the swindler freezes as he notices the mummies have started retreating on their own to the back of the hall. With the path clear, the goddess herself steps forward, taking the lead in the battle and changing the fight's focus. Surprised, the false prophet realizes the arrows are gone and his wounds have closed almost completely in an instantaneous spell. Beside him, the albino swordswoman also watches her own injuries scar over with the power of the divine presence. Confident, the boss lady warns that she has already proven the effectiveness of her healing magic with just her overwhelming aura. Without losing her poise, the goddess points her finger and orders the prosecutor to massacre his own allies if he wants to survive. Holding her sick partner in her arms, Phoenix promises to restore the suit and Taigai's body if he carries out the immortal verdict. With pure malice, the entity demands the hero show swordsmanship as impressive as the audacity he had in their sharp little chat. Seized by fear, the old swindler panics but soon calculates if a double betrayal could be his golden opportunity. With the flute trembling in his hand, the lackey realizes that if the prosecutor perishes, the prophecy goes down the drain and his own life ends there. Cornered, the old man deduces the albino warrior will slit his throat anyway, no matter which side he chooses. Completely terrified, the false Mesa concludes he's in a dead end and his demise is knocking at the door. Not accepting his dark fate, the lunatic screams internally that a famous cult leader would never sink so easily. With a cycle look, the traitor decides to annihilate both partners, right now to steal the festival's crown for himself. Sitting on her improvised throne, the goddess hugs the nurse, declaring that her beloved smile calms her cursed soul. Sadistically, the sick nurse retorts that watching humans cringe in fear is the best show of all. Suddenly, Lords Larage and Astaroth invade the hall, breaking the tense mood of the bloody negotiation. Displaying a mocking smile, the boy demon is amused by the absurd tension spread throughout the environment. With an analytical look, the newly arrived entities ask what the heck the champion troop is up to now. Focused on the invaders, Fenix finds it bizarre that Lord Boone travels in a pack but swears their little party ends at that instant. Ready to pounce, the false prophet analyzes the suit, and Taigayan concludes the hero is on his last legs with no resistance left. With magic lipstick on his lips, the old man guarantees that he and the queen have a numerical advantage against the exhausted prosecutor. Before the spell, the Avenger's sword and the warrior's blade decapitate the old man's fake body in a lightning, fast attack. Cold in his execution, the prosecutor warns that the traitor left his intentions exposed for too long to attempt a surprise blow. Clapping, Lord Larage praises the absurd precision of the double cut that resolved the nonsense in a millisecond. In a friendly tone, the little demon turns to his partner Astaroth, pretending he wanted to build a friendship with the blind guy. In a cowardly betrayal, the punk slices his blade straight across his albino ally's neck, separating the head from the body. With a smile in the air, Astaroth's head scoffs at the useless attack and asks why the punk thought that would take him out. Hovering in the darkness, the decapitated entity maintains a calm expression, exuding immortality amidst the chaos. Returning to the ground, the false Messiah's true form is revealed to be a disgusting and bizarre dwarf, terrified of his imminent end. Desperate, the mini swindler uses his tiny little legs to flee at top speed from the decapitated corpse. Screaming, the creature curses his partners as scumbags for having destroyed his giant host. Eyeing the pathetic creature, the hero scoffs, saying the form of a crawling insect perfectly suits a dirty cult leader. Mad with fury, the little dwarf tells the prosecutor to shut his mouth and raises his magic flute, ready for an all or nothing move. Blinded by hatred, the mini swindler swears with all his might that he will bury the bossy chief right there in the hall. With a violent blow on the instrument, the criminal trash promises to end the Avenger's life in that very instant. Immediately, devastating sound waves explode through the scene, hitting the champion duo head-on. Screaming in pain, the bloody queen clutches her own head, unable to withstand the mental torture of the spell. Firm against the pressure, the prosecutor ironically states that the lackey's absolute attack is nothing more than the annoying noise of a bamboo flute. Maintaining his lethal gaze, the suit, and Tagai tells the traitorous insect to give up the show and accept his end once and for all. Not accepting reality, the dwarf screams hysterically that the sacred Messiah would never perish at the hands of mere mortal sinners. Right at the moment of the pounce, the swords clash brutally as the albino warrior attacks her own ally out of nowhere. Confused and controlled, the medic lets out strange groans as she delivers mortal blows to the prosecutor's head. Hidden on the floor, the mini-prophet celebrates the effectiveness of his mind control, calling the killer a faithful follower of his cult. With a sick smile, the little dwarf orders his white puppet to pierce the prosecutor's chest without hesitation. Dominated by the magic, the queen's mind pulls up the bitter memory of the day she stabbed her own fiancé, blinded by war. Gritting her teeth, the swordswoman repeats the pain of the past, guaranteeing her own hands will do the dirty work again. Completely possessed, the killer swears to send her battle companion to the bottom of the grave with a perfect lethal blow. In a wicked shower of sparks, war breaks out between the two swordmasters, turning the castle into a chaotic meat grinder. With a wicked laugh, the little dwarf celebrates the dirty flute trick fired at the hero's back. Shocked by the scene, the decapitated lord analyzes the tiny and pathetic true form of his own lackey. With pure repulsion, the albino entity finds the sonic attack completely disgusting and cowardly by Hell's rules. Full of anger, the fancy lord accuses his colleague of supporting a shameful and completely senseless act. Smiling sinisterly, the blind demon reminds him that they are all grotesque aberrations by nature. On Earth, the swindler controlled disgusting crowds using phony lies disguised as divine prophecies. But the constant fear of having his lies exposed haunted the false prophet's nights in bed. Deep in his soul, paranoia consumed the old man's sanity with every second of his human life. To escape the panic, the psycho drowned himself in carnal pleasures, piling more illusions in his sick mind. Without a millimeter of hesitation, the lunatic marched straight toward his own dirty and bizarre desires. Accustomed to treating humanity as a toy, the lackey got his feet bloody without showing any remorse. Due to this rotten life experience, the criminal can smell sins better than any monster there. Because he knows corrupt nature from the inside out, the entity guarantees the dwarf is the perfect weapon for the festival. Focused on the deal, the albino lord suggests the old man's flesh will be the perfect new body for Phoenix's love. Amused by the bizarre negotiation, the horned fiend scoffs at the disgusting offer made by the immortal head. Pondering the proposal, the goddess of healing looks at her sick partner in her arms, evaluating the body swap. Bluntly, a voice cuts the mood, rejecting the crazy idea right there in front of all the lords. Full of swagger, Lord Boone promises to deliver a pure and noble vessel if the boss lady waits just a little longer. Far from the demonic gossip, our prosecutor tries to block a shower of frantic blows from the controlled bloody queen. With absurd agility, the suit, and Tagai dodges by a hair's breadth the purple blades that tear the air around his body. Dominated by the sonic spell, the swordswoman deforms the arena, attacking her own ally with pure murderous intent. With wide eyes, the hero realizes his partner isn't leaving him any room to breathe. Under heavy pressure, the boy retreats sharply as the enemy weapon almost pierces his stomach in a reflex. Stepping firmly on the stone floor, the Avenger slides, creating distance to recalculate his suicidal strategy. In the middle of the giant hall, the brutal exchange of blows illuminates the darkness of the goddess's palace. With no escape, the hero charges head on to try and break the crazy medic's perfect posture. Relentless in her block, the woman defends the advance, proving the difference in sword experience is gigantic. Gritting his teeth in frustration, the MC admits that fighting a historical legend is a colossal disadvantage. In a perfect spin, the killer prepares her next energy attack to take the target's head off on the asphalt. To make matters worse, the goddess has already healed the woman's body, and the warrior's stamina simply doesn't run out. In a moment of pure desperation, the hero summons the giant soul of Flaros to serve as a spiritual shield. With his sword bathed in purple magic, the boy prepares for a super risky counter attack against his ally. Without the slightest difficulty, the queen slices the specter in half, ignoring the magical defense as if it were paper. From the impact of the cut, the suit, and Tagai is thrown backward, raising a cloud of dust on the destroyed floor. Sliding on his knees, the Avenger understands that playing defensively won't guarantee his survival in this fight. Impeccable in her fall, the swordswoman lands smoothly, ready to restart the carnage without pity. At a glance, the cursed medic turns her empty face, calculating the next lethal pounce on her injured prey. With her eyes glowing yellow, the monarch's uncontrollable killer instinct takes over her mind. Using his intelligence, our MC ignores the woman and runs like a rocket straight for the old dwarf man. In mid-jump, the prosecutor spins his blood blade, sealing the cowardly prey's fate once and for all. Leaning on the ground, the mini swindler cracks a disgusting smile, warning that the same little trick won't work twice. Immediately, a sonic beam from the flute cuts through the environment in a deafening, invisible flash. Flying through the hall, the lackey celebrates the realization of the divine prophecy as the hero feels the impact. Pressured by a crushing force, the prosecutor freezes in mid-air, trapped by the enemy's magical defense. Mad with joy, the dwarf cheers, holding his bamboo flute, believing he has finally annihilated the annoying leader. Cold and calculating, the prosecutor cracks a devilish smile, asking if the trash really thought the blow landed by chance. Terrified by the coldness, the swindler's blood runs cold as he sees the red blade grazing his insect-like face. Exuding a purple aura, the suit, and Taigai explains that the dwarf's survival was just a merciful and tactical choice. In the lackey's sick mind, the image of the hero firing a gun straight at his face decrees the end of hope. Without missing the chance, the Avenger brings his sword down with fury to take the traitor's life right there on the floor. Panting, our MC confesses his body has reached its pain limit, and he urgently needs to shut the old man up. In that very millisecond, the controlled queen's sword pierces the boy's back, splattering a lot of blood. Saved by the medic, the mini Messia bursts into hysterical laughter, celebrating the brutal stab to the chief's chest. Watching from the sidelines, the fancy lord teases, asking his colleagues who will get the fallen hero's soul. With his arms crossed, the hornboon downplays the pain, guaranteeing his kid is tough and doesn't go down easy. With a sharp eye, the little demon lord warns that the deep blade missed the human heart by a hair. Furious with the lethal mistake, the little dwarf screams for the medic to take the prosecutor's head off without wasting time. Ready to finish the job, the albino warrior pulls out a dagger while the hero bleeds, kneeling in front of her. Blinded by ambition, the false prophet plans to take the festival's crown and claim victory using the leader's corpse. With a grim smile plastered on his face, the criminal cheers, knowing the dark prophecy is about to become absolute reality.